Let me see here. Oh. All right, we're going to have Scott Bowen come back up to the mic, and we're going to get started on resolutions committee reports. All righty. Yes, and we want to. Tom. Yes, and so we want to thank Dr. Tom Oliverson for lunch today. He actually was here and spoke yesterday. So want to thank him. We're thanking him, I guess, via the web right now. So thank you, Dr. Tom. Appreciate that. He's a good guy. He's an anesthesiologist, I believe, in Houston. But he's also a state rep. And so thank you very much for lunch. We appreciate it. It was very good. The chicken was very tasty. All right. So do we have everybody in or most people in? And so we're going to let Scott get started. Here we are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next resolution is the resolution to keep our rivers and streams clean, originally authored by Kiko Canseco, and I move adoption.
Second is not required. And so is there any, Kiko, would you like to speak to your resolution? You could just say it's really, really good, accept it.
Here's the deal with this. It's about rivers and streams. It's not that I'm a greenie guy, but it's about the new way of aborting human beings that are still in the womb. Human beings that were born at conception. There are two ways in Texas to do that. One is legitimately in consultation with a doctor. Maybe there's some sort of a problem that the woman's going to die or something like that, and they may prescribe it. And there are procedures that under the code in Texas you can use in order to dispose of it and take it to a pathologist. Here, when you've got it over the counter or illegitimately, you can go and you can have huge disrespect for human remains and throw it into the wastewater. And what this does is two things. Number one, outlaws it and criminalizes it if you put it in our wastewater, number one. And number two, calls to task the state of New Mexico, where the Rio Grande originates, that does not respect human life and may dispose a lot of human waste within that. Now, some will say that, our wastewater is always treated and all that, but I'm standing up for the disrespect and irreverence to human life. And I think that it's a backdoor to further control over the abortion pill, especially after the Supreme Court of the United States refused to tackle that issue in FDA versus some other organization called the Hepatic Oath Organization. Sure. And so it is also asking that the governor and the attorney general pursue the issue with New Mexico and with the Environmental Protection Agency to enforce the requirements of the National Pre-Treatment Program.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So is there any debate on the resolves? Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Any debate on the resolves? All righty. Any debate on the whereases? All right. Looks like there's no debate. So we're going to go ahead and take a vote if everybody's willing. Seems like everybody's willing. I think you should sit down, sir. All right, so if you're in favor of this resolution, press 1A. If you're opposed, press 2B. If you're abstaining, press 3C. I will give you all a few seconds to vote. Oh, yes, everybody. It looks like everybody's abstaining. I'm just kidding. It's A. It's an A. Letter A. You guys are a little slow today. You're not getting all my jokes. Maybe it's the joke. All right, are we done? Is that everybody?
I'll get it right. So they're backwards?
Yeah. Oh. We can correct that.
We will correct it for you.
Throw it to the bus.
All right, is that it? Is that that's good? We got. All right, so we'll do are you for or against, Ralph? You're for? All right, he's for, so we'll do a manual ad. All right, so I think is that pretty unanimous? 62-0? All right, so resolution 2 passes. Yay. Move on to resolution number 3. Oh, 1 second, hold on.
We're waiting. Okay. All right. The next resolution is the resolution emphasizing the importance of a strong conservative platform. And I move adoption.
All righty. So I believe that you're going to speak to your resolution here.
Sure, just real quick.
Yes, sir.
So actually, Dr. Robin Armstrong, our RNC committee man, pointed many of this out to us. That, of course, at the national convention, there was a rush on the platform, and as a result, they didn't get a more robust platform like we've had since the time of Reagan and before. And so I just felt like I wanted to create a resolution that both affirmed our commitment to the RNC. I personally have been on Trump's spiritual advisory team for a long time, since 2015. So this isn't an issue against anyone. It's just saying that, hey, in Texas, we believe in a strong platform, and we have built a robust platform. And at the same time, we also believe in legislative priorities. So we have 8 legislative priorities, which is in this resolution as well. and that we believe that we are an example and should be an example to the country, and that the national platform could be similar, where we have both a focused platform and a broad platform. So it seeks to be conciliatory, but also to emphasize that it's very important that we have a robust national platform. And there were some things that were removed and that have been worked on for a long time by a lot of people, even prior to us, that we want to make sure that we take a stand as Texas and just say, hey, we're advocating for that. We believe that that's important. That's why we do what we do in Texas. And we want to make sure that that goes there, because we don't want people to believe in any way that as a party we don't agree with those things, because obviously we do. So I wrote this resolution. Please look at it. You'll see that it's very conciliatory, but also very firm for the need to have a strong platform. That's very, very important, because from our precinct level conventions to the state convention and everything in between is largely one of the biggest things we do is about having a strong platform. We spend a lot of time based on it. And really even what we are as a party is our platform is saying that defines who we are. That defines why we gather, why we do what we do. And so I think it's important that in a season where we're winning, and in a season where President Trump has said that he really wants to affirm states' rights and the voices of states, that we as the state of Texas say, hey, we're one of the largest states in the Republican Party. We bring a lot of electoral votes. We bring a lot of votes and energy and money. We want to stand up and say that platforms are important, and we want to use our example of both being focused and broad at the same time to say that other people, including the RNC, can do that as well. And that's why I wrote this resolution.
So is there anyone who would like to amend the resolves? Anybody? So about the whereases, anybody want to amend the whereases? You just want to speak against?
Yes.
Okay.
Daniel Hunt, SD3. I absolutely agree with this resolution. I agree with everything Mr. Story just said. However, right now, the Republican Party is incredibly unified, and we all know that the leftist media and the Democrat Party is going to do everything they can to show disunity among Republicans. If we do anything to open the door to that, we're just helping them. I absolutely agree that our national platform is very weak on many issues that we strongly believe in Texas, but I don't believe we should make a public statement on it at this point to maintain that unity, so that we've got 3 months left to win an election, and I think this would be used by the other side against us.
Anyone to speak in favor? So we're going back and forth, and I hope someone's keeping track of this. You're speaking in favor?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
John Carr, SD 22. The definition of courage is not the absence of fear. The definition of courage is doing the right thing in spite of your fears. I, for one, am personally appalled that we sit here and we talk about things we don't want to upset the media. I don't give a damn about the media. And my point is this: if we do not have the courage to do the right thing and speak up when an error is made within our own ranks and system, shame on us. We need to support this one and pass it.
So now, is there someone to speak against the resolution? Against, okay.
Mike Wheeler, SD 25. I too agree with all the words that are in there. And I'm not fearful of any Democrat or any media out there whatsoever. But this is something that I think can clearly be done after the election. I am not fearful. I just want to win in November. To me, that's the most important thing. And then we can take that up after we win in November. Thank you.
Someone who's going to speak in favor of the resolution? Okay.
Janera Lewis, SD 27. Texas is the focal point. Everybody is looking to Texas for leadership. Please support this. Let us be the shining light. Thank you.
So is there anyone to speak against? And this will be the last against. That was the last four. This will be the last against.
Oh, no. Would it be in order right now to make a motion to postpone?
That would be in order.
All right. I move to postpone until our next quarterly meeting.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. So now the motion on the table is the motion to postpone until the next quarterly meeting.
Point of order.
Yes.
Were we not already in the motion, in the voting procedure? We had closed debate.
No, I didn't close debate. I hadn't closed debate.
Thank you.
And so now the motion on the table is to postpone this resolution until the next SREC meeting.
Against.
And you want to speak against, and so this will be one against.
All right. So Scott Bowen, Senate District 6. Couple things to point out here. Most of us have, in the nature of our jobs here, we've dealt with elected officials or are elected officials ourselves. Have you ever had an easier time convincing an elected official of something after an election than before it? I didn't think so. The other thing to point out, so keep that in mind first of all, the other thing to point out is that when you postpone something to a future meeting, you have taken all of the time to discuss it at the first meeting, and then you take an equivalent amount of time at the next meeting to do it. So if you agree with something, then vote for it and pass it. If you don't agree with something, don't vote for it. If there's a really compelling reason that your mind might change between this time and later, then postponement is valid. But I think in this case, nobody arguing against the resolution so far has said they disagree with a single word of it. So let's just pass it and move on to the next one.
There's someone in favor of postponing until the next meeting? Someone in favor? Speaking in favor? Okay, all right. So we're going to go ahead and vote now. Since no one is, we're going to do a voice vote. And so we're going to vote on whether we want to postpone this resolution until the next SREC meeting. All in favor of postponing signify by saying aye. All opposed say no. I think the noes have it. And so we're going to go ahead, go back to the resolution as stated. And so how many? We still have one against. So does anyone want to speak against this resolution? We have one against that is left. Speaking against? Speaking against? All righty, so we're going to go to a vote. And so get your clickers ready. And so we will do, again, 1A for yes, in favor of the resolution, 2B if you are opposed, 3C if you are abstaining. And so all right, thank you very much. And so it's still open. You can still vote. All right, so the voting is closed, and it's right. All right, so the resolution passes, and so we're going to go on to resolution number 4.
All right, resolution number 4 was submitted to the Resolutions Committee by Dr. Melinda Morris, and it is the Promoting the Support of Texas Active Military and Veterans by the Republican Party of Texas resolution. And so, Mr. Chairman, I move adoption.
Fantastic. And so, Doctor, you want to discuss this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I've been chairman of the Harris County Republican Party Military Partnership Committee for 4 years now. I've been on the committee for 7 years. And we had discussions amongst ourselves, why are we the only military partnership committee in the state of Texas when Texas has the largest population of veterans in the United States, over 1 million. We've got 15 active military bases, and the veteran vote is vitally important to the Republican Party. So to relay Karen's concerns that these resolutions won't impact elections, I think if the state party comes out and shows support for our veterans and basically says, we've got your back, that's going to have a huge impact because the Democratic Party has totally demoralized our military. The military force is the smallest and weakest it's been before World War II. Our veterans are totally demoralized by the care that they're receiving from the Veterans Administration and the weaponization of the VA against our veterans. And if there's any prime time for the Republican to stand up and support veterans in our active military, it's now. So this is a reason. So I want all of the counties in Texas to be supporting our veterans and have, a method to do that at the county level. And then I want to create a special committee for the SREC that contains veterans and also people, SRECs that are very active in the veteran community so that we can also be a voice at the legislative level for our veterans.
All right, so does anyone want to amend the resolves?
I do. Mr. Chairman, I move to amend by striking the final be it further resolved clause. Strike the last clause, be it resolved, further resolved clause.
Is there a second?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak on the
Certainly.
I love the resolution. It's fantastic. As a foreign war veteran, I've championed this all the way. However, I'm very, very nervous when we start talking about veteran registration. I could get on board with it, and I'll allow the author to verify this. I think she supports this. Veteran registration aligned with parties has been used to attack veterans, especially, and I'm not even going to name the organization, the federal organizations out loud because we're streaming. It's been used to deny claims. It's been used to attack us. I think at some point we need to find a way to identify veterans so we can do outreach, but we need to get this committee established, figure out what that plan is going to be and not jump into that too soon because we need to really fully realize what the impact of veteran registration means. The Democrats in Congress were trying to pass a bill to identify veteran firearm owners so that you in your neighborhood would know if this crazy veteran had guns. And so we need to be very, very careful when we start. This is the only thing that made me nervous about this. We need to be careful when we start talking about this, and I want to work especially with the author to make sure we do this in a very thoughtful and safe way to protect this data. Thank you.
Does anybody want to speak against?
Mr. Chairman, I consider that a friendly amendment.
Perfect.
I'm in agreement.
Perfect.
Veteran privacy is very important.
Okay.
And so if we can at least get our committee created, then at the next quarterly meeting, we can discuss different ways that we can possibly find out who our Republican veterans are and protect their privacy at the same time.
All right, so without objection, we will accept that as a friendly amendment, and so we'll just strike that last resolve. And so, are you speaking on?
I have another, what I think will be a friendly amendment.
Okay, so
16.
hold on, let me get my thoughts together first, okay? So we've struck that already, so we're back to the resolution as it was originally presented,
Right.
with the striked portion.
Right. So on the resolve clause right above that, it's just struck me that there aren't any people who are predominantly veterans or partially veterans. So I think we've got the predominantly in the wrong place. So it needs to read within the state Republican Executive Committee made up of predominantly made up of SREC members who are veterans. So we just need to move.
So is that grammar?
Yeah, that's a grammar thing.
Yeah. So I think we can fix the grammar.
Can you fix the grammar
Yeah.
for?
Yeah, we can fix the grammar.
Is there any objection? Thanks
So-
to my fellow nerds.
Yeah, so just as an editorial note, Virgil and I will review these resolutions again before they're published, just to clear up any grammar issues. Our understanding of the intent of the committee, and we did go over this a little bit in the committee, the intent is that the members of this committee that we're proposing to the chairman would be all SREC members and among those SREC members, predominantly veterans among you, but then there would be the opportunity for non-veteran members as well. So that is the understanding, but we'll work on language to make sure it reflects that.
All righty, so we've gotten in favor. We need anybody opposed to this resolution? All righty, so no one's opposed. So
Sorry, so the opposing would be on the full resolution. Yes, I would like to say
correct,
that.
correct.
Yes. And based on this for the resolve. And the reason why I bring this up is that we are a membership we are an organization that represents everybody that we want to become Republicans. As a veteran SREC member, you are the representative based on supporting veterans. My concern with this is that if any veteran organization wants to become one of our partners and coalitions, we would probably welcome them with open arms, and I would strongly recommend that we ask those organizations. We can give an open invitation to become one of those, but to specialize in this area, I think further dilutes the efforts of this organization. We have get out the vote efforts from GOTV, from precinct chairs on up. And I think we should focus on those, get them what they need. And then if those separate organizations would like to become members of our organization, they are certainly welcome.
Okay, thank you.
I oppose this, so.
Thank you. So anybody want to speak in favor of the resolution? Yes, sir.
Royce Albright, SD 27. I was hoping to amend this to include law enforcement, Customs and Border Patrol.
Well, you can certainly do that if you want. Well, this is the resolution as a whole, so you can certainly make an amendment if you want. You can give us some wording of what you'd like to say.
Simply adding after military, law enforcement, Customs and Border Patrol. Law enforcement, Customs, Border Patrol, comma.
Where would you like for that to be?
I think you're in the right place. It's just military, comma, law enforcement, and Customs, Border Patrol, because that is CBP is their title, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, all right. Yeah, I guess we should. Are you messing with me? Okay.
All right, so y'all understand what that wording is? Is there a second to that? Okay, is there a second to add that wording? Oh, she said so. Okay, we have a second. We have a second.
Okay.
Yes.
Steve Evans, SD 28. I rise to a point of order on germaneness of the amendment as it completely changes the entire resolution and the intent of what the resolution is trying to do.
All right, and so it's borderline, I think. And so I tell you, I'm gonna rule that this is probably not germane to this amendment. I'm gonna make that ruling. Yeah, and so we're gonna go forward. We're gonna go forward with speaking on, and now we're at against or for. We're against anyone who is against the resolution as a whole. Right now we're discussing if you're in favor of this resolution as a whole. So I ruled that adding law enforcement, Customs, and Border Patrol it's not germane to this, and so we're going to scratch that, and then we're going to go back to the resolution as a whole with that bottom portion already stricken. And so we're talking we're against Anyone against this? All right, so what about the whereases? Anybody want to amend the whereases? That sounded
Mr.
kinda
Chairman, I
funny.
just want to make a comment about Cheryl's opposition to this resolution. The veterans organizations are non-political. So Republicans don't have an opportunity to promote the Republican Party within any of the military organizations. So this committee would perform a representation and a voice for veterans based on the Republican Party values and in support of the Republican Party that is not available anywhere else from the military organizations.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just quick privilege to just build on that. Most all of your veteran service organizations carry a nonprofit status. They're absolutely prohibited from engaging in political activity. They will not come and try to partner with us as an organization. So this is more of just an outreach to go the other direction.
Sure. All righty. So, all right. So 1A, if you're in favor of this resolution, 2B, if you're opposed, and 3C, if you're abstaining.
Galen, come vote.
All right, the vote ends. I think the resolution passes fairly handily. And so I want to see, is Jessica Colon here? Okay, so Steve, do you know, is Jessica still around? We'll take up another resolution and then we'll have her speak after. So we're on resolution number 5.
All right, this next resolution is a mouthful, but I'll try and read the whole title. The resolution holding the U.S. government financially and criminally responsible for constitutional and treasonous violations to Texas and its citizens. And I'll also remind everybody before I make the motion that if there's likely to be no debate on a motion, you don't have to get up and speak to your resolution if you don't want to. So anyway, with that, on behalf of the committee, I move adoption.
All right, and so you would sponsor this resolution? Okay, would you like to speak to it?
Paul Hale, SD1.
Yes, sir.
If anybody is against this resolution, I ask them to please go and read the United States Constitution and go and verify the insane. How many descriptive words could I use here? What have we seen since February of 2021? We've seen our sitting Supreme Court judge, when our President Trump was put on trial for something that carried the death penalty, that man backed up. And I'd like to remind everybody that the Supreme Court is second in command. The first in command is our Constitution, the supreme law of the land. And this man backed up and said, no, I can't do this. And he turned that court over to Donald Trump's accusers. Can any of you imagine going to your county court and being tried for something like murder, something that carried the death penalty possibly, and the judge saying, I can't do this. I'm going to turn this over to your accusers. And it was just getting started. Look at the insane madness that we've had, chiefly the border invasion. If you go to Section 4, Article 4 of our United States Constitution, the United States government has the responsibility, they are liable to protect all 50 of our republic from invasion. And they have not only been negligent in that, they have assisted this invasion.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know the rest. Thank you.
All right, so anybody to speak against this resolution? Anybody to speak against? I think your threat kept them away, sir. You're going to give them a constitution if they did.
Thank you.
All right. So, so we're going to, anybody want to speak to amend the resolved? Anybody want to amend the whereases? Are you walking up to speak? Oh, she's not. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take a vote. And so go ahead and get your clicker ready. Again, 1A in favor of, 2B against, and 3C if you're abstaining. All right, we're good. All right, fantastic. I think it passed, sir, just by a hair, just by a hair. All right, so so I'm going to introduce Miss Jessica Colon. She is heading up the Trump efforts here in the state of Texas, and Jessica is she was working very hard at the convention, and she's working very hard, and she's making sure that Donald J. Trump wins Texas by 25 percentage points. 25 percentage points.
That's amazing. Thank you. Yes, 25. We're going for double digits. It's great to be here with y'all. I appreciate this time. I appreciate the time from the chairman, and we extend our greatest condolences to Chairman George on his loss, and it was a real pleasure to be with him at convention. I hope you saw his roll call, his enthusiastic roll call, for giving our 161 strong votes for President Trump's nomination there at convention. Let me just take a moment. How many of you went to Milwaukee as a delegate or alternate? Please stand. Please stand. I want you to see this representation in the delegation from the State Republican Executive Committee. Wonderful, wonderful, extraordinary, and from our RPT leadership too. So I know y'all, it's a long day, so I'll try to keep it short. I want to visit with you, and some of y'all, I was with Rhonda and Dan in Athens just last week, or week before last, I'm losing track of time already. I've talked to so many of you in the room about these things, but I wanted to give you the full task here so you could take it home and have some talking points to go back as you circulate in your Senate districts. What I'm here today to talk about is Trump Force 47, okay? Trump Force 47, you can find it at trumpforce47.com, is our volunteer machine here for the Trump campaign and in Texas. I know that we are, typically this is, I don't have slides up because they're typically closed to the press, and I know we're live streaming. So I do want to just touch on a few things, though, here with Trump Force 47. This is where we are bringing everybody into and then deploying out from there. We start trainings next week, statewide via Zoom, and I'm traveling around doing individual club trainings, and I'm zooming into a place in Brownwood on Monday, and so I can definitely accommodate y'all's schedules if to the very best of my ability. If you want me to come in and do a meeting or zoom into a club meeting that you're already having. The different aspects of Trump Force 47, of course, are phone banking, of course is block walking, of course is poll watching. And many of you have maybe already partaken in different parts of this. But in short, folks that sign up, particularly to be a Trump captain, would be assigned a certain voter list, be encouraged to reach out to those voters on a regular basis to make sure that they vote according to how they would prefer to vote by mail or early or on election day. It is no secret that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were in our state 3 times collectively in the last 10 days. Just think about that. Think about that. Think about that as a red state. Think about that as the path to victory for the White House for President Trump comes through Texas. Where'd they go? Harris County, Travis County. Where didn't they go? They didn't go to the border. Border czar Harris was 300 miles from the southern border of Texas, and she didn't go again and again in the last 10 days. She overnighted twice in Harris County in those trips. They want Texas, and it's up to us to stop them. And it is up to us to make sure that we do what we need to do here for President Trump to go double digits in November. And who's right behind him on the ballot? Senator Cruz. And we're going all the way down. It's called the Trump effect. Let's get it done, all right? We need our boots on the ground. I know there's a lot of efforts out there. This is complementary. It's supplemental. You know, not everybody that y'all talk to, y'all have so many fingers into everything. You're working with the county party. You're working with the Republican Women Group. You're working with the Tea Party. You're working with this group and that group. Cool. But not everyone that you come in contact with is comfortable walking into those groups to be like, sign me up. But they want to support the president. And that Trump Force 47 can come in and do that and give them an infrastructure with which to work. Also, if you're a county party that just doesn't have a lot of capability to have a lot of infrastructure, Trump Force 47 is the infrastructure to come in to help you organize. We all know that our strong relationships, what the urban and suburban and what our rural counties can do. And we all have to kick it up a notch, you know? So we are going out to voters that may not often vote. They may feel like we're gonna win. Why do I need to vote? But this is about the message, and this is about the entire ballot. We need to send a clear message that Texas is Trump country, and we're sending President Trump back to the White House and Senator Cruz back to the Senate, our Congress members back for a strong majority in Congress, in the US Congress, and we want to win some countywides, all of our countywides if we can in our judicial races. You guys know this. I'm totally preaching to the choir, but we have to put that effort in. So I encourage you to sign up for TrumpForce47.com. Happy to have any conversation, and I'm staying for the afternoon. And then everybody here has my number. I am so impressed how organic it has been getting my phone number out to this entire state of Texas. So I have gotten so many calls to participate, and they have the time to do something like this. So I'm very open to that. But we are, this is a very important state, and that's why the Trump campaign is taking such a paying close attention and making sure that we go even bigger than we went last time in 2020 for the president. We go for double digits. Great for the entire ballot. All right, so I'll end it there, but I'll be here and happy to get anybody signed up. I thank y'all so much. It's great to see you.
Well, Jessica, you said to give your number out, and so I've given it to like 30 people myself. So do you still want us to continue to give your number out, Jessica? Oh, yes, back there, yes, absolutely. Not on live stream. I would not do that. All right, resolution number 6.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our next resolution was submitted to us by Ellis County, and it is calling for reform of the Texas House, including speaker selection by Republican House members. I move adoption.
Lisa Hendrickson, SC12. Love the amendment. Love contract with Texas. The only thing I would like to make a motion is that the third whereas.
We're going to do the resolves first.
Oh.
Anybody want to? Mr. Tully has educated us as to the proper course of action here. So anyone want to amend the resolves first? All right. Whereas, there you are.
Fabulous. The third whereas Representative Brian Harrison announced that he will not vote for a speaker who plans to appoint Democrat chairs and is leading the charge to the principled contract with Texas, which aligns with the Republican Party of Texas platform. I make a motion to strike that entire whereas. The contract with Texas was signed by 27 very brave individuals that stood up. And Representative Harrison was one of several authors. So I would just like it noted that I agree with the sentiment, but this is not about one individual. This is about all 27 that stood up.
All right. Is there a second? All right. Very good. And so, so any discussion? Do you want to? You spoke to it already. Anybody want to speak against this amendment?
I'm not speaking against. What I'm going to say is.
So let's get someone to speak against. You want to speak against? Against?
Okay.
Nobody's against?
So this
We'll
comes
take
from-
some for us.
Yeah, this comes from our county, SD 22 and SD 2, and Brian Harrison is their representative, and that's why he's in there. So I'm sure that they would be amenable for y'all to strike it. This just shows that they're for Ellis County sentiment.
So who wrote this amendment? Who wrote the resolution? Can we accept this as a friendly amendment?
Before we accept this as a friendly amendment, I would like to offer a friendly amendment to the amendment, which might actually better state this whereas. Instead of striking the entire clause, let us strike Representative Brian Harrison and instead replace it, the signers of, maybe we need to do has announced that he will not, yeah, the signers of the contract with Texas have announced that they will not vote for a speaker.
Hold on for a second.
Okay.
1 second.
Yeah, we don't need to say 27. Yeah, the signers of the contract with Texas have announced. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm being told that you can't really
David Wiley.
amend a strikeout like that, and so what we can do is if this fails, then you can amend it,
Or if she withdraws her motion.
or if she would. We've already a second, so want to withdraw without objection? You want to withdraw?
And then I'd like to reintroduce.
Got it. Okay, so now you have so she's withdrawn her, so now we're back to the regular.
And I would like to
And
introduce.
now you can amend.
I think Green's got it right. David Wiley. Yeah. Okay. Work on my verbiage. Yeah.
We're not doing anything with pronouns. We're fixing the verbiage of the amendment. And then once he gets that down, we'll read it. So whereas the signers of the contract with Texas have, I can't see that word because of the speaker. Oh, look at that. Whereas the signers of the contract with Texas have announced that they will now vote for they will not vote for a speaker who plans to appoint Democrat chairs, and they are leading the charge in the principal contract with Texas, which aligns with the Republican Party of Texas platform. That is the verbiage that we have an amendment on. Do we have a second? I think we've already had a second. Second. And so that is the verbiage that we will now discuss. You've spoken in favor. Anybody want to speak against this amendment? All righty. Nobody speaking against. Anybody want to?
Only one portion, Deborah Fight, SD7. I've been talking to a great number of the representatives, our conservative representatives, and they are, for the most part, agreeing with the contract of Texas with the 12 points. But there are a couple of points that are negotiable that they may not sign because of. So I don't know how concrete we are there, but they definitely want to not elect a speaker that will appoint Democrat chairs. So the question is, do we just make it solid that we're not going to appoint a speaker that gives Democrat chair positions and leave out the contract with Texas. So that's the debate here. Sense?
Well,
that to make it,
Yeah.
to make this resolution about not appointing a speaker who will appoint Democrat chairs, period.
right. Next, we don't have anybody against. You're against?
Point of information.
Okay.
So my question for the chairman, if you could ask the author, sorry. My question is, what's the point of making it this lengthy? Like, why do we have to define everyone who is involved in it? I mean, we did a hard thing, or the rep did a hard thing. That's great. Let's say it was Ellis County that did it and move on. But I'll be out of order if I go on. But could we ask the author on why we need it this long on this amendment?
You know, it's he offered an amendment, and so you can certainly vote against it.
I just wanted to know if there was a purpose for it. That was it.
Is there a purpose for this amendment? Giver. So yeah, and so I think right. So would it be accurate to say you're giving some attaboys to some of our state reps? Sure, absolutely.
Then, Chairman, I'll speak against this amendment.
Okay.
I believe that it puts us, we're already the state Republican Party of the state of Texas, and we have our platform, our legislative priorities. It's pretty well defined. And I feel if we start putting in specifics like contract with Texas and different folks, we're going to end up being like NASCAR, and we might as well just wear our hats on who did what. I'm voting against it because I think it expands too far and it goes outside the actual purpose of just saying, hey, this was hard and we did this. So
Sure.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody speaking in favor of the amendment? In favor? Anybody in favor of the amendment? All right. Mr. Pickle.
Jim Pickle, SD8. I think the people that were here last session will remember that this body doesn't really like to call out individual politicians. We like to make it as generic as we can, especially if there's more than one involved. I think particularly we talked about the Paxton resolution, and there were a whole bunch of people that had supported him, and we just said, we appreciate the people who supported him without listing them by name. And that was even in the whereas clauses, which are not part of the resolution. And this is now calling out an individual representative in the whereas clauses, exactly like we voted down before. So for purposes of just consistency and all the reasons that we had for not listing individual people before, I stand in favor of the amendment.
All right, thank you. Anybody in opposition to the amendment? Yes.
I liked the proposed amendment that Lisa Hendrickson had initially proposed. I like that it kept it general, that we didn't name names or specific things to make it more universally applicable for a longer amount of time. After all, the bottom line is they signed a pledge to appoint only Republican chairs and choose the speaker in Republican caucus. That's what we want to accomplish. That's our whole purpose here. And brevity is beautiful. We could have a resolution that only takes up one page and more people will actually read what we've written. So I just like removing that one whereas clause as she had initially said, and don't replace it with anything. We accomplish our goal.
Right. So, okay, anybody speaking in favor of the amendment? All right, so we're ready to take a vote. And so we're voting on the amendment at voice vote. We can do voice vote, yes. All right, so we're going to do a voice vote on the amendment. That is,
we can vote on this
Mr. Chair, I wanted to offer an amendment to strike with the whereas with House Speaker Dave Phelan, if we're going to keep in the.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay. All righty. All right. So we're going to take a vote. So do y'all understand what we're voting on? We're voting on what's in green. Okay. We're voting on the green there. And so just read that and adding that as a whereas. All righty. So, so all in favor of the amendment as stated there in green, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. I think the ayes have it. All right. And so we'll go with that. And so
Mr.
we're going to go
Chairman?
back to the original resolution now.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Point of information. What is the purpose of a whereas statement or a list of whereas statements before the end of the resolution? Can you articulate that?
Would you like to articulate it for us?
Well, the purpose, yeah, I can do that. I can actually phrase that, are you aware that the whereas statements, because I can't articulate it unless you give me that opening, but since you did, I'll do it. Otherwise, I could ask the question, are you aware that the whereas statements are building the evidence that builds for the final piece of the resolution, which is your resolve? So every time we do a whereas, it's just a piece of evidence to say this is why we have the resolve. And that's what we're doing in this case in most of our resolutions. So we don't need to get as nitpicky in these whereases as we're trying to be. Thank you.
Right, sure. All righty. Any other? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, I will move to strike the whereas House Speaker Dave Phelan has stated repeatedly his commitment. That whole whereas, just for the purpose of keeping in uniformity with leaving names out. And the next one, thank you.
All right, so you're censoring the two whereas, this whereas, and then whereas the Republican Party censored Dave Phelan as well? Okay, so the amendment on is there a second for that? Okay, and so the amendment is to strike those two whereas clauses, as you can see. Is there any discussion? In favor? Against? Okay, so anybody in favor? You want to speak in favor, sir?
Mr. Chairman, was there a second on that?
There
amendment?
was.
Oh, okay.
Only reason why I'm making this amendment, this offer to this amendment, is because if we're going to keep in the uniformity of leaving names out of the resolution, then that would be appropriate to strike these two whereases.
All right, thank you. Anybody against? Ladies first?
Yeah, I'll yield to the gentlelady.
That's all right. Mr. Chairman, Rachel Horton, ST30. I would wholeheartedly disagree with pulling these two from our list. In fact, I was rising to amend the last whereas, but the reform of the Texas House. We need the reform in the rules, which is what Contract with Texas is about, increasing transparency from the Texas House rules to we the people, and making sure that the things that they do in the House Calendars Committee, the things that they do in other committees, the things that they do in their campaign finance, and the way that the speaker raises money, all of those things need to be transparent and available to their voters, to their constituents, because without that, it encourages the Dade Phelan effect. And I really believe that we do need to keep these in our resolutions just as a way to have a marker in time and saying this, remember, this is what happened. We refer back to the Strauss House, but now we have Dade Phelan. So I would encourage voting against the amendment, and we might do an amendment against the current session. But thank you.
All right, so anybody in opposition, no, anybody in favor of the amendment as stated? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Jim Pickle, SD8. Mr. Perham's consistency argument is valid. Also, this is about the contract with Texas. It's not about Dade Phelan. It's about the broader version of the contract with Texas. Even if he's not elected speaker again, we're going to have the same problem with the next speaker. So why narrow ourselves down to, oh, Phelan did wrong, so we're going to do this? I mean, we don't want anybody to do this. And so let's take out the pointed nature, the specific nature of just aiming at Dade Phelan and leave it like it is without these whereases, so it applies to anybody who's speaker. And so I rise in favor of the amendment.
Really? All right, so anybody in opposition to the amendment? In opposition? Okay.
Yes. Scott Bowen, Senate District 6. I see a philosophical difference between removing a reference to one representative out of 27 who took a courageous action, and I definitely don't want to minimize that. I think that's very valid. But the reason that Dade Phelan is mentioned in this resolution is because he is the speaker, and he's going to run again, and in all likelihood is going to run in a way that empowers Democrats and probably rely on the votes of Democrats. So I think it's a very different thing to call that out and oppose it, him by name, because that is what he's doing now, and it's what he intends to do, versus singling out a specific representative who has done something that a lot of other representatives have also done. So I think what we're doing here is necessary in the resolution the way it's originally written. I think removing these whereas clauses also takes some of the force away from what we're trying to do. And I don't think there's a single person in this room who wants to see Dade Phelan as speaker again. I don't think Ellis County wants to either. And so I think we should leave that in there because it accurately reflects the desire of this body and of the Republican Party of Texas. So I oppose the amendment, and I'd also like to call the question on the amendment.
That's fine. All right, and so 2/3 vote to call the question. And so all in favor of calling the question on the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Okay, we'll call the question and we'll vote on the amendment now. So the amendment on the table is to strike those two whereases on the board, which you all can see. We'll do this by a voice vote. And so all in favor of striking those two whereas clauses signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. I think the noes have it. And so we're going to keep those there. And so we are back to the original resolution now. And so is there any further discussion on the original resolution?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Rachel Horton, SD30. I have a minor amendment because we're currently not during the current session. In the whereas the Republican Party of Texas has censured Dade Phelan, you're going to want to go back up a little bit. Oh, during the current session. Oh, it's there too. Oh, got it. Got it. Okay. So it is the previous session, not the current session, because we're walking into the 89th. We're wrapping up the 88th. 80, yes. Can we do the 88th legislative session, which is yes, that's when we censured Dade Phelan.
Yeah, without objection, we could make that change. You all good with that?
I'm here for it.
Okay, so we'll make that change.
Thank you.
We got to get the number right. Which number we're talking? We're disagreeing up here. Okay, we'll get it right.
During the current session, it needs to be 88th legislative session. Yeah.
All right, so we'll handle that. And so we're back to the original resolution. Do you want to speak to the original resolution?
Yes. Well, I was going to expound on what Rachel was talking about. I believe in Rachel Hooper, if she's here, can help me with this if need be. But in the rules that set up where a county can censor, and already, I believe it was Hidalgo County, we have a county currently that has censored Dade Phelan. I was told that what happened prior to our convention, wouldn't hold, but anything since. So we do currently have a county that has censored Dade Phelan.
Okay.
Well, but since our convention.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Okay. Any comments? So we're back to the original resolution. Any other comments? Any other discussion? So we will now take a vote on the original resolution. So get your clicker ready. And so same as previous, 1A in favor of the resolution, 2B opposed, 3C abstaining. You guys are already voting by the time I get the instructions out. I switch up on y'all. I'll announce the. Looks like resolution 6 passes overwhelmingly. Very good, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next is the resolution ensuring that all general election voting locations have a Republican election judge. And this was introduced to the committee by Chuck Burnett. So I move adoption.
All right, would you like to speak in favor of your resolution? He is not here. Does anyone want to speak in favor of this resolution, or we could just vote on it? Yeah. All right, so seeing that there is no discussion, then we have to vote. I was just going to say, let's do it. And so clicker's ready and let's vote. These county parties are going to have to get to work, guys. Man, that's a. All right, very good. Thank you very much. That resolution passes. Chairman Bowen, resolution number 8.
All right. The next resolution is the resolution reaffirming Republican Party of Texas support for educational freedom. And this was a resolution that I authored myself. So I move adoption.
All right. Resolution number 8, reaffirming RPT support for educational freedom. Anybody speaking in favor of the resolution? In favor?
Yeah, I'd like to speak in favor of it. Mr. Chairman, Ralph Fite, SD7. School choice was the 10th legislative, or voted as the 10th priority, and it only failed making the top 8 by 2.14%. Personally, I think educational freedom is a sword I die on. It's the civil rights movement of the 21st century. I think we should all support this. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Anyone against this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I rise to make an amendment to the resolved clause if that's still acceptable.
The resolution is resolved perfectly.
School choice program available to all Texas students without carve-outs in the 89th legislative session that is consistent with our platform, contains strong protections for private schools. And my amendment is and parochial schools, not homeschools, and provides a realistic private option to all families. So I'm striking homeschools and replacing with parochial school. That's 2 words. And the reason I do that is because in the state of Texas, homeschool is not a legitimate legal term in any code. Yeah. Because Texas considers
So is there, I guess,
home
is there a second?
educators.
Is there a second? Let's get a second real fast.
Yes, thank you.
Second, okay, thank you. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Texas considers home educators a private school. So that's my reasoning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All righty.
Okay.
In favor, against?
Against.
Against, okay.
Yeah, Scott Bowen, speaking against this, I understand the intent. I realize that as a matter of law, homeschools are protected under the laws that protect private schools, but this is a political document for legislators. And this is a resolution that is expressing our opinion. And so our opinion, as stated without the amendment, is that homeschools should be protected, which they would be. And so I don't want to leave protecting homeschools out because our platform says it, and we want homeschools protected just like everybody else. And so I think taking that out would create an oversight in the resolution that is maybe not intended, but it would definitely be a vacuum that might be used to attack the resolution later. So I would oppose this change. I think private schools and homeschools states our opinion that we want private schools and homeschools protected, even though as a matter of law, they are the same. As a matter of expressing our opinion clearly and making sure we're understood, that is, I think that is something that needs to stay in here. So I'm against this amendment.
Anyone else in favor of this amendment? Anyone else? In favor?
Yes, I'm in favor of the amendment. Basically, the Leaper decision versus Arlington ISD created homeschools as private schools. So if we leave the language as private schools, that does include homeschools. If you single out homeschoolers, it actually leads to the legislators looking at that and saying, hey, this is an opening for us to legislate homeschools in a way that we do not want, and a lot of homeschoolers do not want. So I will tell you, it's better to go ahead and do the amendment as it's shown, just to say private and parochial schools, because homeschoolers are included under private. And anybody who's a homeschooler will know that, and anybody who studies the law will also know that.
All right, so anybody speaking in opposition to, anybody speaking in opposition? So no one else is in opposition? Anybody in favor? We'll take a couple in favor. Favor? One more in favor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, I'm in favor of adding parochial school because I had to remove my grandchildren from our parochial school because the Houston Independent School District policies had fed over into the parochial school. So they're not protected from public school policies. So I'd like parochial school to be kept in.
All right, so y'all ready to vote? And so we're going to vote on the amendment? I'm sorry? They're telling me we have, we've done 3 for and 1 against.
Is a motion to amend the amendment, point of inquiry, is a motion to amend the amendment in order at this juncture?
No, the motion is to you're wanting to amend.
Yeah,
the
can we
amendment.
just say, can we potentially, just as a friendly amendment, could we say protections for private schools, which include homeschools?
Yeah, I think that changes the meaning of what she's trying to get at.
I'm just concerned that,
the-
well, then I'll speak against it, unfortunately.
Repeat the,
I just was wondering if we could say for private schools, which include homeschools, which are homeschools, or whatever words you want to use.
I would not consider that a friendly
Okay.
amendment.
I would gently speak against the amendment then, Chairman.
You can speak gently.
Okay. I am a homeschooler, so and have also done private school and public school, and I know homeschoolers are private schoolers. And I hate to even oppose something you're saying, but on this particular regard, but I'm just concerned because this is a point of contention across our state that somehow school choice is going to affect homeschoolers, right? And so people really want, and I know that there are a lot of homeschoolers who do understand what we're talking about. And what has all been said legally is absolutely true, what Mr. Pickle said, absolutely true. But there are many people just in the overall conversation, like Scott said, that don't get that nuance. And I just don't want someone to take advantage of this somehow in their conversation and claim that we are somehow not fighting for homeschoolers and that somehow school choice would be in opposition to homeschool. I really want to be careful on how we do this, even though I know that what Mr. Pickle is saying and what you're saying is absolutely true. If there's any other route to where we can affirm that we do want to protect homeschools in this resolution, I think it would send a wrong signal to remove that.
And so we have 1 more against, 1 more open. We've had 3 for, we've got 1 against left.
Speaking against.
Against, okay?
Jim Pickle, SD8. We're missing the last line or last word in the sentence right, or the line right above this. This is already talking about private schools, right? And we either have parochial or homeschools, okay? Under the Leaper case, homeschool is considered a private school under Section 29. So when we say private schools, we include homeschools in that. On the other hand, Jeremy's right. There's a lot of kind of contention among people in the state that aren't lawyers, that aren't, statutory scholars or whatever, that a homeschool is somehow different from a private school. So if we leave homeschools in there, I think that's appropriate. But then parochial schools, I think that means religious schools. Parochial means based, and also parochials are also private schools. You're right, good point. So if we just have it just private and homeschools, I think we just have private schools and be done with it. And we falls into the statute, falls into the Leaper decision, we're done. But I think Jeremy's right. I think there's a nuance here for homeschoolers especially who are very sensitive because it's only been about 25 years since they've had their hands on this. And they want their position known. And so I'm against the amendment. I think we go back to the original language. So I speak against it.
All right, very good. So now we are ready to take a vote. So we're going to do a voice vote on this. We've had three opposed, 3 in favor. And so all in favor of what we're doing here, adding parochial schools, striking homeschools, signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. I think the noes have it. And so it reverts back. All right, so now we're back to the original resolution. And are there any more thoughts or?
Yes, Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
I move to amend the same paragraph.
Are you amending the resolve?
Leslie Thomas, SD 22.
Are you amending the resolved?
Yes, the same,
Okay.
Same paragraph.
Okay, same. Yes.
Comma after homeschools,
There is one there.
an Oxford comma, and rural schools, RURAL, rural schools. And I'd like to speak to my motion, if I get a second.
So is there a second? Okay. And so contains strong protections for private, homeschools, and rural schools, and provides a realistic private option to all families. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason why and I know it walks the line of not being germane. But the reason why I want to include this is because I'm SD over 11 counties, and 9 of those are rural. And every club meeting and committee meeting that I go to, they are overwhelmingly, many unanimously against school choice because they feel like it's going to that's going to kill their schools, that they're going to get less funding because the money's going to go into the big cities who have the problems. They're the largest employer in their community. They are the heart of their community, and they're rabidly protective of their school district. That is their cultural center. So that's why I would like to include this.
All right. Anybody in opposition to this change?
Rolando Garcia, SD 15. This amendment is basically saying that we don't support school choice in rural areas, okay? It's saying that we don't support school choice for all parents in Texas. We've made this clear in our platform. We've made this clear in resolutions time and time again that we support school choice for all parents. And I would remind you, the school choice primary ballot proposition won in every county, in every district, including your district, Leslie, and in every county in Texas, overwhelmingly by over 70%. Republicans in rural areas, in suburban areas, in urban areas, in every part of the state overwhelmingly support school choice. And by this is a carve out. We're basically contradicting ourselves. We say without carve outs, and then we're adding a carve out. Okay? This is adding a carve out. Please vote against this and support school choice for every parent.
Thank you. Anybody in favor of this amendment? Anyone in favor? Anybody else in favor?
Since I was called out by name, I'd like to speak again. It's marbled, Orlando. There's no clean fix. And so if you want school choice to pass in west of I-35, then you need to have some recognition of the rural school districts. These school districts are the little engine that could, and they are really trying to hard with many of them. The highest paid person gets $45,000 that teaches there. That's the economics of it. So, Harris, I'm from Dallas County and you're from Harris County. It was hard for me to understand until I came out there and I heard their points of view. And I'm saying that my state senator would have a very hard time supporting school choice if he did not have protection for the rural schools. That's what I'm saying. If you want school choice passed, you need to do something for the rural schools. You need to have some protections for them. And they can't do a private school. They just can't make a private school. In fact, one of them said, the superintendent, I think it's Eastland County, Somerville, don't quote me on that. They said that they might as well shut their schools down and go down the road and open up a private school in order to get more funding. And so I don't know if that's the truth. I don't know if that's TASB, but that's what's being generated out there. And I'm telling you, not one person of these where I go, not one is in favor of school choice, because when they see school choice, they see a threat to their community.
All right. So now, anybody else speaking in opposition to the amendment?
Scott
In opposition.
Bowen. Yeah, Scott Bowen, Senate District 6, speaking in opposition. And the data does not agree with what is being said. Republican voters in all of these rural areas are just as supportive of school choice as Republican voters in urban areas. The polling shows it time and again. Basically, every single representative who ran on the ideas that were just expressed, who said the school district is the only employer, who went to their district and made that claim, lost. Glenn Rogers lost. John Kemple lost. All of these people lost because this is not the people in these that if you're hearing from someone in a rural Republican Party who believes that school choice is a threat to rural schools, they believe that because they're being lied to. And we do not need to participate in TASB and the superintendent's lies to people in these rural districts who are trying to turn them against their Republican leaders, including our governor, our lieutenant governor, and their representatives and senators. We don't need to participate in that. We need to tell them the truth and make sure they know that school choice isn't a threat to rural school districts at all. And so that's what we need to do. We need to stand on truth. I'm against this amendment. I'm for the overall resolution, and we need to get this done in this legislative session.
All right, anybody in favor? We got one more in favor and one more against. In favor?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it would be I'd like to see if I could, Brandon Hodges, SD 31. Sorry, I'm new, so I'm trying to keep up with proper protocol. Could I offer a friendly amendment to the amendment, possibly?
Leslie, let us know. Doesn't matter what's the amendment.
So, and this might not be germane, so please, just for this, I believe that we all believe in school choice and we want to push this forward, but there's really great arguments on both sides.
What's the amendment? What is the amendment?
So could we strike out the rules? Could we amend it and strike out everything and just say contain strong protections for parental choice in all education, and then just not kind of make it more broad? Okay. Is it
yeah, you just have to
no?
touch that one area. So we're
Thank you.
unable to. So we have 1 for and 1 against. All righty, so let's you're ready to take the vote? Voice vote? So what we're voting on is the amendment here. It will, as you see in green there, contains protections for private home schools and rural schools and a realistic private option. So all in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye. All opposed say no. I think the noes have it. It'll revert back. All right, and so now we're taking up the entire resolution.
I have an amendment.
You have an
It's
amendment?
a friendly amendment.
A friendly amendment.
Yes, I already checked with the author.
Okay.
I'd like to amend, and rather than contains strong protections, maintain strong protections. So it's above, and it would be,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, without objection, we'll make that change. Is that okay? That's a friendly amendment. Perfect. And so we're back to the original resolution. And so seems like we have exhausted all discussion. And so let's press 1A if you're in favor, 2B if you're opposed, and 3C if you are abstaining. All right, looks like the resolution passes overwhelmingly. We have resolution number 9. Uh-oh, hold on one second. We want to get Chairman Bowen up here.
It is. This is the last resolution. However, we do also have standing rules to vote on. So, yeah. But anyway, this will be a fun one. It should go quick. This is the resolution congratulating Attorney General Ken Paxton for securing $1.4 billion data privacy settlement for the state of Texas. And it also makes the point that if certain individuals in the legislature had succeeded in impeaching our Attorney General, then that would never have happened. So anyway, I move adoption of this resolution.
All right, very good. All righty. So any discussion on this resolution? All right, hearing none, we're going to take a vote on this resolution. Look at that. So we are voting now, for those of you who are not paying attention. All right. Looks like the resolution is going to pass. It's passing. Thank you. All right. And thank you, Chairman.
Yes. So one final item of business, and we have to do this. We have to do this every 2 years. We have standing rules that we consider as a resolutions committee. So there are standing rules for the entire SREC, which the chairman, Jim Pickle, will present later. This is for the resolution committee, but it still has to be approved by all of you. And so you need to be aware of these rules for submitting resolutions of your own, or if your constituents submit them. For a meeting that we have like this one, where we meet on Saturday, committee meetings on Friday, you have to have your resolutions in by 11:59 p.m. Tuesday. They have to be submitted to me. And before a Friday committee meeting, or if there's a committee meeting not on a Friday, this is a new change, then it has to be 72 hours in advance. And that can be suspended by a majority vote of committee members present and voting, but we don't like to do that. Get your resolutions in on time. And then a quick change here is a commitment that all of the resolutions that have been submitted, I will send out the following day before 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. And then the second change is that the committee chairman and SREC secretary, me and Virgil, shall be authorized to make non-substantive formatting adjustments and grammatical corrections. You want us doing this because there are things that we don't catch until after they're voted on. So anyway, I move adoption of these standing rules on behalf of the committee.
All right, fantastic. Are there any discussion on these standing rules?
I do have an amendment, Daniel Hunt, SD3.
Okay.
I would just to point, well, my amendment would be to change the 72 to 48 and then add at the end of that paragraph or 24 hours before a meeting not occurring on a Friday. And the reason is 11:59 a.m. on a Tuesday is approximately 48 hours before a meeting on Friday. So that's the reasoning.
Is there a second? Is there a second? All right, so amendment fails due to lack of second. All right, any other discussion?
I'd like to make an amendment, but I'm not sure if it would be germane or appropriate, but I know we have trouble looking at these resolutions when they come in JPEG and PDF formats, and we don't actually have a rule that says they need to be submitted in a text or, editable format. So I don't know if that's in order or not, but I'd like to make that motion if it would be. Just the language would be any resolution submitted to the committee must be in Word or text format. Yeah, editable text, selectable and editable text.
All righty, so have you decided which one you want it in?
Okay, this would be, I'm moving to insert rule number 3, that all resolutions submitted to the committee must be in selectable text format that can be edited by the committee.
Right. All right, is that what you're looking for? Is that what you're looking for there? She's got it typed out.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, but I'm going to withdraw my amendment.
Yeah. So just to make a quick comment, because I talked to Mr. Eller really quickly here. As much as I complain about receiving items in this format, I don't want to restrict the committee from taking up something that was not properly submitted, just in case. So there could be someone who's not familiar with our processes who submits something really important that we would want to take up, and we would just take the burden on ourselves of fixing it. So anyway, that's the thought there.
So now we're back to the original standing committee rule. Any other discussion at all? All righty, so we have to do the clicker for this as well. Clicker. You all ready to take a vote? All right, let's take the vote. All right. Well, congratulations, Chairman. I think it's passed. There we go.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. That concludes the Resolutions Committee report.
All right, I call on Jim Pickle, Chairman of the Rules Committee, to present the Rules Committee report. Jim said it's going to take 5 minutes and we'll be done.
If anybody has any 10 o'clock flights, I'd suggest that you go ahead and just call and move them to tomorrow. Jim Pickle, I'm SDA, I'm Chairman of the Rules Committee this session. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have a report for the SREC. If I can pull it up here. There we go. All right. First, I'd like to announce who the committee members are for this Rules Committee this session. The Vice Chair, Steve Evans, and on the committee with me and him are Leslie Thomas, Melinda Morris, Dale Inman, Matt Patrick, Deborah Fite, Kristen Bentley and Chuck Burnett. So a little later on, I'm going to ask for people to give us suggestions. If you know any of these people, that's who you would run your suggestions through that they can get to the committee. We don't have any formal things where we have to submit them by 11:45 or p.m. on Tuesday, because we just don't do that in rules. We're cool in rules. We're not going to do that. Okay, so a lot for a lot of the new people, and if you're not a corporate lawyer or something, you may not know this, but just briefly, I want to talk a little bit about what the difference is between the bylaws and the rules. Okay, the bylaws are the internal rules, so to speak, that control our body and what we do. That's what the bylaws do. So that means we get to decide what those are. We get to fix them and amend them, and then we get to live by them. But outside this room, they really don't apply. On the other hand, the RPT rules control the entire Republican Party of Texas, including the conventions, all the ECs, us, everybody. Everybody in the Republican Party is controlled by the RPT rules. We create the bylaws, we amend the bylaws. The convention creates the rules, not us. They can be amended here, supplemented here, rewritten here, whatever, which is what we're going to talk about today. And the rules, the RPT rules, can be amended here in very specific, special, sort of emergency type situations where they are either impossible to carry out and then we need to make a tweak on them, and only temporarily. In other words, anything we do for an emergency basis has to be confirmed again at the next convention. So we don't really run the rules, we just run the bylaws. The history of the bylaws are, the ones we have now have been around since the early 70s, all right? There's been lots of amendments since 1977, as you can imagine. Some of them were not conducive to consistency or efficiency, or some are frankly anachronistic. I mean, you get 17 different SRECs, each trying to change the bylaws. They're not always going to, dovetail like this. And they really didn't. So last session, Chairman Rinaldi tasked me with bringing them up to date, fixing inconsistencies, grammar, punctuation, and usability. So I did that. Several people were involved, Steve Evans, among others, and Gail Stannert, who was very helpful to us, created a lot of great input and ideas. So thank you, Gail. She's no longer on the SREC. Thank you, Gail. Is she here? Okay, so the review process was mostly completed in December of last year, and the first real modifications were presented to the SREC in February of 2024. This is really, okay. They were approved by the Rules Committee and passed by the SREC. The revised bylaws were then approved by the convention in May. Now, since then, we've found, especially me and Steve Evans and Virgil, have found a few additional issues with the bylaws that were not caught in the first couple of rounds. So we're going to talk about those today. And we've already gone through this report at the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee has approved this report unanimously. It's early. I can move for adoption of the Rules Committee report in toto, which doesn't have anything to do with the dog, or we can go through them one at a time. And there's 64 of them. So at this time, I would like to see if, without objection, I can move the body to accept the Rules Committee report as written at that committee, and that's my motion right now. And if it doesn't pass, we'll go through them one at a time.
All right, thank you, Chairman. So the motion on the table is to amend the entire rules report as a package. Is that correct?
Accept the Rules Committee's bylaws as approved.
Got it. Accept the Rules Committee's bylaws as approved by the entire Rules Committee unanimously. Okay. And so all in favor of that signify by saying aye. All opposed, no.
No.
Who said no?
Well, here's.
Yeah, so the ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Personal privilege. We have a fiduciary duty to the state party to look at this and grind over it. If not, we are violating our fiduciary duty.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. The ayes have it. And so we're going to...
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Who?
I moved
Yes.
over here just to
Yes.
throw you off. Karen Marshall, SD 26. Would the committee chairman mind giving us a little synopsis of what
Certainly.
they changed, just so
For
we know
sure.
what we did?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'd be happy to. And I also want to address Kiko's point too. These bylaws have been circulated to the SREC several times, including this morning was the final version of it. That's why I made a motion to just approve them, because if you were all that concerned, maybe you could have read them and had brought up specific issues. Apparently not everybody had that problem. The main things we did, let me tell you what we did. I'll tell you, most of these changes were grammar, punctuation, Jim Pickle pet peeves. I hate the word and/or, so we just made it or. We took out the shalls and made them may or will or must, which they're supposed to be because shall is vague. And I would like to also say that there were some changes that happened to the versions that came before. Stay here. And I would like Steve Evans to take a minute and explain what happened with we're asking for explanation, so I want you to come up and explain what happened with some of the things that were edited out in prior versions, and then we put them back in yesterday.
The quick answer is Jim Pickle screwed up. Thank you. Does everybody believe me? Majority rules, Jim, it's your fault. Oh, okay, member. So what had happened was we started on an edit working with a live document that all the committee members could access, and we picked up the document that we adopted at the start of the last biennium. Now, we made 2 additional revisions to the bylaws throughout the biennium, and we got to convention time, and we had that document nice and cleaned up, and next thing I know, it's time to get a notice out to the incoming SREC at convention, because we had to have something in your email for you to vote on. Virgil was tied up. I was tied up. We grabbed Jim's document. We fired it out to you, and we did not reincorporate the 2 bylaw revisions that we had made through the year. So we lost all of our work during the year. So what this revision does is it brings that language back exactly as we debated it, including the standing rule on local government. It's exactly as we debated it. And we did make a few edits and modifications to make them cleaner and clearer, but that's the reason it got left out. I will take full responsibility because I didn't go through that document. There just wasn't time. We were busy, but that's what happened. Or it was Jim's fault.
Point of information. Yes. Mr. Pickle, you state that we have all been provided copies of this many times over and that we should have all read it already, even though there are 4 different ways you've described changes that have been made to this document. Interacting with one another in and out and reading through the document, it says that this one replaces that one and that one has not been moved and herefore and wherefore. I do have one question for you related to a specific change that's in here.
Let me see if I answered the first question
Okay.
satisfactorily. Did I answer your first question? Who asked the first question? You wanted me to explain what all the changes were. Karen Marshall. Karen, have I done that? Or are you satisfied with that? Or should I go home, finish your question before I get to his? Yes. It's in the document. I can point it out for you, chapter and verse here, where the substantive changes are if you'd like me to, because I have them listed. Okay.
Are you going with her or are we talking to me?
I think I'm still answering her question. Yeah, stand up next. Okay, all right. So here's the substantive changes. I'm just going to read the article numbers. I wasn't going to put them on the screen. Okay. Article 7, Section 3 and 5. Article 7 talks about officers. Committees, there you go. Section 3 and 5. Section 3 in 2 places. Right. And so if you see the green, that's the change. All members, I can't read that.
I'll read it for you. Okay. Okay, it says all members are allowed to attend any committee or subcommittee meeting, but do not have the right to vote and may only participate with leave of the committee chairman.
So that's one substantive change. The next one is Article 8, Section 8. Yeah, Section 3 and Section 5, yeah, Section 5, okay. And that, again, if you just look at the green, that's what we've changed from the last version.
It says voting members, each member of the committee has the right to cast his individual vote, method of voting by voice or show of hands or ballot as determined by the chairman or by majority vote of the committee.
Right. Article 8, Section 8.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, if I may.
Sure.
I'd like to call the orders of the day. We've already voted on this and approved this, and I think it's time to move on with the rest of our agenda.
Actually, we haven't voted. We didn't take a vote.
Mr. Chairman,
We voted on rather than take it where they take them as a whole.
point of order information. I have a couple of them.
Yes.
The first one
Can I
is-
finish the answer
Well,
to the first question, though, or is it?
I would actually very much like to know, not necessarily that we're calling the orders of the day, but I want to know exactly where we're at because we did a voice vote. Am I correct?
So the voice vote was to vote on all these together.
On
Right,
all of them
the
together?
bylaws together.
To accept the report of the
Accept
committee.
report of the committee together.
Right.
Exactly.
So we've not actually, we actually haven't accepted it yet. We haven't voted on it, because actually we have to take a recorded vote according to the bylaws.
Wonderful. And my second is, I have a point of privilege, if I may. I'd like to introduce my proxy for Patrick Wamhoff in Senate District 30, the amazing J.C. Yarbrough, who actually lives in Senate District 30. He may have some questions. Thank you.
So point of order, or I guess point of parliamentary inquiry. Since the motion passed to take this, to take up the report as one motion, we should now be in a period of debate, correct? And so the only people recognized to speak for and against would be, or to speak would be people debating for and against or making amendments?
Correct.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I guess that's fair, but we're giving.
Yeah, mine was just a point of information. I was just asking him, oh, could you please explain what we
I think
did?
it's legitimate to give information out. She wanted substantive changes,
Yeah.
and so, yes, we voted on it, but I think we should give her information.
And you can look at the substantive changes, Karen, because they're in green, and there's a secretary's note in yellow at the bottom of that paragraph that tells you what we're doing, or tells you what we did.
Okay. You satisfied? Okay, very good, thank you. And so we have to take a recorded vote.
Point of information,
Bylaw changes? Yes. Who is that?
David Wiley.
Yes.
You were just about to get to my question.
Yes.
In 8E32, or 8E2A1, there is a green 14-day requirement being added to some Section 8E for the Article 8 committees, section.
Article 8's finance.
Okay, well, let's.
Article 7.
Take me to
committees.
committees.
Okay.
7. There we go. Partnership committee. Right there. 14 days. No, what does no motion mean there? That's my question. Are you looking to include this in what we're voting on or not?
The green.
In green.
It says no motion, which means there was a motion to put that in, it failed.
Okay, so it's in there, but it's not in there.
It will not be in the final version we voted on, right?
Are there anything else is in there that's not in there?
No.
Okay. Great.
Everything that's in there is in there except for that one that's not in there.
So now that we have answered the questions.
I have a point of privilege. Okay, I think we all agree that two of our brightest minds in this room are Jim Pickle and Steve Evans. And while they have probably never made a mistake in their life, one of them did so. So we want to vote on who earns wearing this cap for the rest of the day.
So that is, So that is not germane, but I vote Jim. So what we're going to do is so now, there we go. Thank you, Jim, for being a good sport. I appreciate that.
You said you were going to take the hit.
All right, very good. So now we have to take a recorded vote on this. And so these are the bylaws that we're voting on now?
Got standing rules first. Okay.
We have to do a recorded vote on the bylaws.
Okay, but the standing rules, are the standing rules part of the bylaws?
No, one at a time.
One at a time, okay.
Yeah. So we're going to now take a vote on the bylaws, on the bylaws. We have to vote for the rules and the bylaws separately. So we have to get a recorded vote according to our current bylaws. So, all righty. You guys ready to vote on the bylaws? Get your clickers, recorded vote.
That's what I'm going with.
You're going to get some more clients with that hat, I'll tell you. All righty. All right. And there we go. All right, the bylaws are passed, and so now we're going to move on to the standing rules.
Thank you. I spent a year on these things. I'm sick of them. Okay, the standing rules, these have to be passed every time, right? And Scott talked about some of the standing rules that apply to resolutions, and he's already gone through those, but we will have to vote on these again. Rule 3 that we already voted on that. We put back in the language that Steve Evans accidentally left out of standing rule 3. Yeah, at least I said accidentally. On rule 4, okay, show rule 3. Well, just to make sure that Rolando knows we put that language back in there, because standing rule 3. There, right there, all the pink. I don't know why Rolando was so mad that this whole section was left out, but he was, so we put it back in. So, and that was inadvertent, and we and I have talked about that. Yeah, and he sees me wearing this hat, and he goes, yeah, it was inadvertent. Sure it was. Yeah. Rule 4, standing rule 4. What's 4? Right there, green. Go back, right there. Yep. Gives the chair discretion, like this, to move the SREC meetings anywhere in the state unless the Texas legislature is in session, when then this meeting has to be in Austin. So that just allows the chair to move it. So if you've got a city you want to go to, I think his favorite color is blue, and he likes Corvettes. Just saying. Got to suck up to Chairman George. Rule 5 is what we do every meeting or every time. Let's give Virgil the opportunity to fix punctuation, word misspellings, and things like that. Let's put it in the standing rules and be done with it. We don't have to worry about it anymore. That's what Rule 5 does. And then Rule 6 is those disclosures you all filled out today, where you disclose whether or not you were captive or you made money from a political consultant or a candidate or something. This deals with how we're going to handle those internally. There wasn't anything in there about what to do with those before this, and so now they're not going to be made public, but we're going to maintain them at the office in Austin at the RPT. So those are the standing rule amendments. And let me say this for anybody nervous out there still. This meeting, we got to vote by majority vote to amend the bylaws. In any meeting after this one, takes a 2/3 vote to amend them. So it's important that we do all of this now. But if there's some problem or we want to fix something or add something later, just realize it's a little heavier lift at every meeting after this one. It takes a 2/3 vote. Not that they can't be fixed, because I told you originally, we get to fix these bylaws. And notice and 2/3 vote, right? We don't have notice either. And by the way, that's a good point. I didn't have to give you guys notice of these changes. I just went to the Rules Committee. That was fine. And just bring them here. But I did, because I wanted you to have the opportunity, like Kiko, to question or comment on any particular ones. All right, that's the end of the section of this report, except for before we vote, just let me say this. The Rules Committee is continuing to work on the RPT rules, mostly based on your suggestions provided us during the next 2 years. We are also open to further suggestions related to the bylaws if any come to mind. Together, I'm confident we can use the rules, get the rules into shape to assist the party, including to help local executive committees who seem to be struggling with some direction from us. Our goal is to have the party at all levels operate smoothly and with the constant goal of living out and presenting our principles to the world and electing solid Republicans to office. This concludes my report to the chair.
Thank you, sir. All right, and so you move to accept the rules, as we're taking a vote on that now. All right, bylaws. Standing rules. All righty, so, all right, very good, and so, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Steve Evans, SD 28. I move to amend the report of the standing rules to insert rule number 7 on the screen, debate limitation. In all meetings of the SREC, for all debatable questions, debates limited to 3 for, 3 against, with a limit of 2 minutes for each speaker.
All right, we've got a motion in a second. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick explanation. We do this every meeting, so
Right.
this avoids us having to do it every meeting. And I will add, members, that standing rules can be suspended on the floor by a 50% majority. We can also modify standing rules on the floor with a 50% majority and no notice. We do have to record vote them all every time, though, by the way.
All right, very good. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a point of information. Does this mean that we're going to miss the somnolent tones of Steve Evans giving us the debate limitation at the beginning of every quarterly meeting?
So that's a speak in favor. Anybody against?
Do you hear that in your sleep?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Kiko Canseco, SD 26. I just have a point of information on Roman numeral 4, location.
So we're going to take this vote first.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, let's take this vote first. And so no further discussion. All in favor of this amendment with debate limitations signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Mr. Canseco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On SD 26, I'm Kiko Canseco. Roman numeral 4, the first line says in Travis County or in an adjacent county. Does that mean a contiguous county or any county within the state of Texas? Adjacent, which is a contiguous to Travis County.
I would say contiguous.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Should that be the word used rather than adjacent?
Yeah. Sorry, you guys are. I think we think both works. We think both works.
Well, but they don't like, Mr. Pickle here doesn't like and or. So.
Well, it says adjacent. I think adjacent and contiguous both words work. So I think we're good.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anything else? Standing Committee on Rules, any other discussion? We have to take a vote for this as well? Clicker vote? Have to take a clicker vote for this as well. So we're voting on the Standing Committee on Standing Rules for the party. Oh, the screen went off. Okay, there we go. All righty. Oh. All right, so we're good. Thank you very much. And so it looks like the ayes have it. The rules are passed. And Mr. Pickle and Mr. Evans, thank you so much for your hard work on the rules. That's a lot of work, and so we really appreciate you. Legislative priorities, Rachel Horton and Leslie Thomas. Come on down. All right, Rachel's got it.
Y'all, I won't take more than 5 or 6 minutes, maybe. While Leslie is walking up, Leslie is my co-chair, Leslie Thomas, SD22, everybody knows Leslie. My name is Rachel Horton, I'm SD30, and we are your co-chairs for legislative priorities, and I'm very excited to be chairing this alongside Leslie. Leslie and her experience with the legislature has been outstanding so far, and I'm very much looking forward to working together with her on making sure that we have all the great ideas. She's texting me at like 9 o'clock at night going, hey, what about this? And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So we're working on several things together, but I do, if you're on our Legislative Priorities Committee, would you please stand? We have Scott Bowen, Deborah Fite, Matt Tiskus, Jeremy Story, Leslie, Janeria. So we have a great mix of both old and new, and so I'm very excited. I do want to keep a couple of deadlines on your radar. So as we are going through legislative priorities, we did go ahead and name some subcommittee chairs. So first of all, we have border enforcement. I'm going to go ahead and chair that one. We have election integrity with Leslie Thomas and Lisa Hendrickson. We have Kristen Bentley with Stop Sexualizing Texas Kids. Texas is Not for Sale. Deborah Kelting-Fite has agreed to chair this one. We have Ending Federal Overreach with John Carr. We have No Democrat Chairs with Deborah Fite and Christiana. I believe we have Christiana Keeler on this one also. And then we have Secure the Electric Grid with Dr. Melinda Morris and Ban Taxpayer-Funded Lobbying with Janira Lewis. So we're very excited to see the new folks kind of stepping up and taking charge and owning these issues that the delegates voted on for us. Some important dates to keep in mind. So right now we are focused on getting our legislators elected, getting our Republicans across the line and making sure that we have Trump and Cruz and all of our national eyes are on DC. But did you know that the 11th of November, so the 5th of November is the last day to vote for election day. It's the general election day in November. But on the 11th, it is the first day for legislators who are elected and first legislators to file their bills. It is the first day of bill filing, 6 days after our general November election. The first day to file a bill is 6 days later, is that Monday. So please put that on your calendar. And when you start talking about how close the general election is, oh, we have to wait until after November. Y'all, it starts now. It actually started yesterday. We still have interim charges that are going forward. We have state legislators who are looking at the electric grid. We have them looking at border security. We have them looking at the sale of Texas land. And we do have some that are looking at our school systems. So y'all, we have to stay on top of what we have going on in our Texas legislature, excuse me. The final thing that I want to bring to your attention is that in December, the GOP caucus, the House caucus, meets here in Austin, and by our bylaws and theirs, they will select their nominee for speaker. So by the time that we have our second meeting together, our second quarterly meeting, they will also be meeting to decide that. So the things that we talk about now with Ban Democrat chairs and the things that we articulate now are exactly what they need to be hearing. So please don't lose that in the block walking and the outreach that you are doing for Trump, for Ted Cruz. And finally, the final date that I need you all to put on your calendar is the very first day of legislative session. Lord willing and the creek don't rise. The very first day of legislative session is January 14th, and the gavel is supposed to drop at noon. So with that, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all very much.
All right, thank you very much. And so now I'm going to call Lisa Hendrickson, election integrity.
1, 2, 3, go. I'll try and be super fast. First off, if you're on election integrity, also, can you stand? Yay, wonderful. We did have our first meeting, and I just want to thank this team, and I want to stress that word team. We all understand that lovely acronym about I have had several people request to be on this committee, but I want to make sure that we all know that we are all on the election integrity committee, as well as every precinct chair and county chair all the way down the ballot. In addition, To that, I've had 4 requests made to me to be added to the Election Integrity Committee. I will have a conversation with our chairman, and out of respect for him, ask what his vision was for this committee to make sure that I stay aligned with him. And let's see, yesterday I shared with the group that we will not be live streaming our election integrity meetings. If you've not read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, do so. I do realize I'm probably going to have a lot of hate mail and people complaining and whining and moaning and gnashing of teeth. I also shared yesterday, Andy will be the ones receiving those emails, phone calls, and texts. If you send them to me and it starts with, you need to live feed the following, I will just hit delete. Because we are at a time in our world right now where telling the enemy our plan has not been helpful, and rest assured they are our enemy when they want to do some of the things that we all know they're going to want to do. Let's see. The 89th legislative session, of course, as Rachel shared, is among us and approaching incredibly quickly. We are all part of, hopefully, Protect the Vote already, doing what we need to do to mobilize everyone. So again, I'm going to keep it really, really short and sweet. We have to win the House. Or everything's lost. I've had several conversations already with some of the chief of staff that are in the Senate and some of our, what we would consider grassroots activists in the House. They are ready to pass the legislation that we all need to do and we all know that is correct to do. But again, we have to win the House. Without this House, well, we're going to end up in the same situation in the 90th legislative session. I have asked everyone that, to submit wish lists. So if you have something that you would like to see passed, please send to me. I'm going to give them to you short and sweet. We've asked to actually have a recall added to the ability in the state of Texas. I do not know what that means constitutionally. I just know some people probably would behave a lot better if they knew they could be recalled. Just saying. We have asked that the audit be raised from 1% to 2%. We address nursing homes, go to paper poll books, precinct voting, closed primaries, election. We actually had an interesting one that they want to do an electoral college for statewide races. So Harris County and the big population centers can't, they can't tell the rural counties what to do. Anyway, election marshals, curbside voting restrictions and enforcement, and an education. And then we have had a suggestion to use the $1.4 billion to get all 254 counties voting the exact same way. So don't shoot the messenger. And that's it. I'm out.
All right, I'm going to call special committee reports now. I'm going to call convention arrangements. Galen Devine.
How many of you went to convention? San Antonio was great to us. We love know that we could not have successful conventions without each one of you and all of the people that you encouraged to come. So we are going to create a Google Drive for y'all. We, for the first time, had a professional photographer at convention. She is fantastic. She took great shots. And so what we're hoping is by creating a Google Drive, putting those photos in there for y'all, that you can use them to motivate people to get out the vote. You've got pictures of your own Senate districts, your congressional districts, but then you'll also be able to use those to motivate people in 26 to come to convention, right? Because there'll be professional photos, and you'll all have access to that Google Drive. We are working on 2026 and 2028. As you know, there are limited places that can hold all of our rowdiness. And so several of them have major construction projects going on. Major. So we're working through those dates and what we can do to get 26 and 28 booked. As soon as we get some dates for you to look at and locations, you'll be the first to know. And all of our bills are paid. So with that, I'm done. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ralph Fight, local government. Very good.
So for the record, 2026 has not been booked. So people who are telling you that 2026 is in a particular place, it is not. No, it was not a twofer. And I keep hearing that from people, and so we're repeating false information. So we are working diligently. Me, Steve Evans, David Wiley, we are working on 2026. But so San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, and Fort Worth are the only 4 locations that can hold us. And they've got some major construction projects going on in Dallas and Fort Worth. So we are prayerfully working through maybe some alternate situations. I told Matt Tickus we were going to have the next convention at his house. So when he asked, so don't ask, don't ask, don't tell. But we're working through the dates because typically in 26 we would be able to do it in June. And so some of those dates are not available. So we're working through trying to get the best date in the best location. As you do know, 2028 for the RNC is in Houston, okay? So there's just some things to work around. So the committee, David and Steve, who we could not have had the convention in San Antonio that we had without them. They deserve our congratulations, our thanks, our forgiveness for the work that they had to do. Yes. And so once we get dates that we think will work for this body and a location that will work for this body, you will vote on that location. Okay? So we will make that recommendation to you and you will vote. And then, is there any questions? Good? Thank you.
Government.
Good afternoon. I'm Ralph Fight, Senate District 7, the lowly freshman of the Fight team in SD7. How many of you would be happy if I used less than my allotted 10 minutes for the local government committee report? I thought that might be your answer. So here goes. Let me first recognize the 2024 local government committee members. If you'd stand as I call your name. Tisha Crow, Vice Chairman, Bruce Bishop, aptly represented by Donna Carter, Rolando Garcia, Dale Inman, Janera Lewis, Don McDonald, Kelly Perry, Jeremy Story, Michael Wheeler, and David Riley. Committee members, please stand. Where are they? We went through self-introductions in yesterday's meeting, and there was one common theme in all the committee members. That was a great sense of passion for our mission, passion for getting more pro-family, common sense school board members elected. Thank you. Rolando Garcia gave one excellent example of RPT local government endorsements. In the case of Katy ISD, the state's 5th largest school district, one candidate was pro-family. Another candidate favored transgendering children. With our support, the pro-family candidate won. A vote was later taken on the school district board to prohibit transgender indoctrination. With the vote of the candidate we supported, the proposal passed by a 4-3 vote. In another Cy-Fair ISD race, in the third largest school district in the state, there were 2 Republican candidates, with one being more of a trans Republican. RPT endorsed and helped minimize the cost of campaign mailers. This caused Ted Cruz to make an endorsement in the same race. The conservative candidate won. The prior standing rules of the local government committee from the prior biennium were distributed to all our members. Those rules were previously adopted on March 4th, 2023, in a vote of 64 and 1 against. I don't believe in trying to fix something that ain't broke. So, Mr. Chairman, the local government committee would like to readopt those rules, which served us well and provide important safeguards to the endorsement process. Those rules are: any candidate wishing to be endorsed must first be endorsed by at least one county executive committee with territory within the jurisdiction the candidate wishes to represent. And 2, candidates must complete the application provided by the local government committee prior to an endorsement decision. Mr. Chairman, I move the adoption of these rules.
All righty. So, is there any discussion on these rules? Yes, ma'am.
Is there any way that Rhonda Ward SD3, is there any way we could amend that to be first must be endorsed by at least one county executive committee or SREC?
Well, there is a way that you can amend it. You can make an amendment.
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to do that.
All right.
Motion to amend.
All right,
Yes.
motion to amend. And so what do you, say that one more time? She's gonna,
By at least one county executive committee, CEC, I guess, comma, or SREC within that territory. Or SREC member within the territory. You can grammatically do that.
okay, do you want to speak to that motion?
I would like to. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm from Nacogdoches County, and our county is a very pro-Phelan. Our chair is. He has never considered a resolution in the last 10 years that I'm aware of. He will not consider resolutions, nor will he consider endorsing any candidates. It bothers me because people have came to me and asked, and I've tried to tell him he has to do this. I would like to know that I could do this. If we had a school board, we have a lot of school board races in Nacogdoches, that it would be nice that I could bring that endorsement. Without the recommendation of the CEC, it's pretty stacked against pro-Republican, even though it's a Republican committee.
Sure.
So that's my reasoning.
Thank you. Anyone would like to speak against? Yes, sir.
I really appreciate your sentiment, and I've heard this story where county chairs try to block what their CECs are doing. But the bedrock of the premise when we started doing endorsements, the bedrock was this has to be a bottom-up grassroots process. So before RPT can endorse, the county party must endorse. I think that we need to keep it a grassroots. Now, for issues where the county chair is being difficult, look, ultimately CECs can take charge of their meetings. And if the county chair is being difficult, the CEC needs to say, hey, we want to bring this resolution up and we're going to vote on it. And I believe me, I've heard counties where this happens, and you have my sympathy. And I encourage the precinct chairs, those CECs, to take back control of their meetings and to stop letting the county chairs ride roughshod over them. However, and again, I really appreciate the sentiment, but just to keep this as a bottom-up grassroots process, the endorsement process has to start with the county party.
Thank you. Anybody want to speak in favor of this amendment? Anybody in favor?
I'm speaking in favor.
Okay.
Some of you may know Montgomery County's had some problems in the last couple of years. I don't know if you knew that or not. But in any event, we had a very similar situation for the last 15 or 20 years where our chairman, both our previous 2 chairmen, would not help conservatives at all and worked against us. And there's no mechanism, including the SREC, to remedy the true grassroots, the actual conservatives in these areas. So I fully support an SREC member. I trust our SREC members way more than I trust some of our chairs in the state right now.
And there's chairs directly working against grassroots. And I know that David Covey had asked me to go to Orange County, which is not SD4. And 6 months ago, I helped him with their censure. I helped him we did mock meetings where I was a rogue chair. They had no training whatsoever. So although you say that the CEC controls it, there's really no training for those precinct chairs. The chairs have training to tell them how to overrule and overrun their CECs in some of those areas. So I went down and just said, like, challenge the decision of the chair. They said, we have never heard of that. What's that mean? So there are counties that desperately need help from their SRECs, and they just don't know how to fix it. Sure. And an SREC doing some training like that would help, or an SREC saying, we know the will of this community, and we're going to move forward with it.
Sure. Anyone in opposition?
Yeah, speaking against Scott Bowen, Senate District 6, the first thing I'd like to point out that Rachel Hooper helpfully mentioned to me is that as SREC members, you are automatically an ex officio member of every county executive committee within your jurisdiction. That is in the party rules. You're a member. You can make motions. You can, well, okay, maybe can't make motions, but you can be there and you can help your precinct. Yeah, exactly. Be recognized and help your precinct chairs do what they need to do on their county executive committees. But at the end of the day, though, the original vision for this process was that we want to encourage county executive committees to make these endorsements. If this is something that we can just do ourselves without their involvement, then we're never going to get the grassroots involvement that we need in these elections. Because at the end of the day, there's one SREC member, but if you're running for a school board, a city council, anything like that, you need to be talking to your precinct chairs. You need to be talking to your on-the-ground activists and making sure they're all on board with your campaign and they're helping you. Because if the only person you've got in your corner is your SREC member, you're going to lose. You need your grassroots activists on board. And if you can't get them on board, then either you need to do something differently as a candidate, or there's a bigger problem with your county executive committee that the SREC probably can't solve. But I think having this as a sanity check on our endorsements and making sure endorsements start at the grassroots level first, I think is really necessary to this process working. And it's also going to prevent the local government committee from being flooded with endorsement requests by every single one of us. So I'm against this amendment, although I appreciate the intent, and hopefully there's a solution.
All right. Anybody in favor of the amendment? In favor?
Point of information.
Sure.
If a candidate satisfies these requirements, does that guarantee an endorsement?
No.
Okay, so if we did add the SRC as a potential replacement for the county party, would that guarantee their endorsement?
No.
Okay.
All right. Anyone in favor of the amendment? In favor? In favor? In favor?
Brandon
favor?
Hodges and SD 31 in favor of this
Okay.
amendment.
Yes,
And
sir.
the reason I'm in favor of this amendment as it stands, we've got 45 counties that make up SD 31, and it's going to be hard to believe to some of these bigger cities, but we've got county chairs that don't have precinct chairs. They're their own people. So it's easy to say, hey, we need to fix the county executive committees, but it's not as simple to do that in the rural areas as it might seem. We've got to allow some people to come up, because the rural areas that I'm from are having some trouble, and they're not endorsing or helping people that support the party platform and the party planks. It's just that simple. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Anyone against?
I'm against.
Okay.
And I was vice chair when this committee was formed, and Rolando's done a fabulous job. And even then, I was apprehensive to having a local government committee, because we are a bottom-up organization. No one knows better than the parents who they want as their school board members. I didn't want to come in and say the RPT, who has no idea what's going on in Horseshoe, Texas, can override that area and think that we know better than the parents who should be representing. So we have to keep it a bottom-up organization. And if any of the counties are having problems, they've got to work it at their level and, you know, get a good grip on conservative county committee, executive committee.
All right, I believe that's 3 and 3, 3 for and 3 against. And so that's what the guys are telling me here. I haven't been counting actually, so I'm not sure. They said 3 and 3. So so there we are, 3 and 3. So we're going to take a vote now. So all in favor of the amendment to this rule, adding SREC members, signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. That's pretty close. I'm not sure, guys. I think there has to be a division. We'll have to stand up or raise your hand or something. So all in favor of this, adding this amendment, adding SREC members as an alternative, in favor of that amendment, signify by standing. If you're in favor of the amendment, adding SREC member there, stand up. Okay, got it. All right, and so y'all can sit down. And so anyone opposed to this amendment, stand up, please. Boy. What? Is it 31 to 19? Wow, man, I got bad ears. And so the nays have it. And so I think we'll go back to the original rule. Is there any further discussion on this rule?
Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we're going to have to, yes.
I can speak in favor.
I don't think you need to.
Oh, I don't need, okay.
For the rule? Yeah, I don't think you need to.
Well, I was going to make one quick comment.
Sure.
And just kind of after everything we've gone over, the motivation.
Be careful, you might sink it.
Yeah, and so at work with the counties, most counties, and I think Harris and Collin counties were kind of the first ones to pioneer making endorsements in these races. Counties are nervous about doing it. A lot of them are. They're not used to choosing between multiple Republicans who have filed trying to get a more conservative candidate. And so especially a lot of the rural candidates for whom this is new, you are really going to have to work with them and get them to understand, like Navarro counties, a great example. They saw the need for this, and we've made some endorsements there after Navarro County started endorsing. So work with your counties and get them to understand that we have this requirement because we want them making endorsements. We want them choosing the most conservative candidates they can for these positions, because these are the positions that feed into the partisan races, state reps, congressmen, people like that. We need to build a bench, and this is how we do it. And so take that message back to your counties and encourage them and let them know that we can help them, and we can help them vet, we can help them build a process. Not just the members of the local government committee, but all of us. This is a critical part of our strategy as a party. And so thank you to everyone who is
Sure.
working on this and making it happen.
Thank you, Chair. So anybody
Point
in
of inquiry?
opposition?
Point of inquiry?
Yes.
Can we, in the future, what kind of a vote is required to change these in the future?
You'll need
Is
a
it
two-thirds.
Two-thirds. Yeah, because I really would like to consider this more. There are a lot of rural counties where you have like one person in the city.
So you're speaking against?
I'm just saying we should give this great consideration as to how we might go about this if it's not this way. Because there are certain counties that literally have one member in a CEC. And so essentially it's not much different than an SREC, right? Because you got one precinct chair or two precinct chairs. And so there should be, we may not have time for it now, but there's got to be some consideration to those counties that are just oddball counties where they've got like one CEC member or two CEC members, and there's not much difference between them and the SREC person.
So I'll count that as an against? Yes. Oh, it's a majority even in the future? That's not correct. Standing rule requires a majority. So you could change it in the future. So you're speaking in favor of?
Actually, it's a point of inquiry.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Melinda Morris, SD 13. I need to address an issue that we have run into in Harris County. We have a local government committee who will endorse candidates, and the minute those candidates are endorsed, it's on Facebook within 24 hours. I mean, the candidates are so proud they've been endorsed. Then we wait for our SREC local government endorsements to come out, and their endorsements are different. So we've had candidates endorsed by our local committee and not endorsed by the SREC local committee. And then it's like, well, how do you explain that? You know, what do the candidates say? Does the local committee trump what the SREC committee has voted on?
Well, it seems like this rule would prevent that, correct?
And a lot of it has to do with, you know, we've emphasized that if you have like 2 Republicans running in the school boards, which we do, we generally don't pick one Republican over another Republican in these nonpartisan races, and this is when this has really become an issue. And sometimes a Republican gets picked over another Republican, sometimes they don't.
So I believe what this rule would do is make it a qualification. The SRAC would have to receive that yay or nay from the executive committee. So when the executive committee speaks, then the SRAC can make a decision to endorse or not. You see what I'm saying? But it would have to come from the local executive committee. You see what I'm saying? So it should never happen to where am I reading this correctly?
So should the candidates wait until the SREC local government committee makes their determinations before they're posting it on all the Facebook pages?
No, they're separate. They're separate, so they don't have to.
Okay. Because it's hard for candidates to explain. You know, why did local government endorse me, but the SREC didn't? You know, and we've run into that a couple of times.
Right.
Well, that happened with Erica McCutcheon.
So I'll take that as a,
No.
I'm not sure what I'll take that as.
Can I clarify this? Because I designed this, this whole process, okay? You have to be endorsed first by your county party. Once you're endorsed by your county party, then if you submit the application to local government, then we will consider you for the state endorsement.
Right.
So regardless of what Melinda said, let me be clear. We have never the RPT has never endorsed anyone who is not already endorsed by their county party. And anyone who tells you otherwise is incorrect. Now, when they're endorsed by their county party, they're free to promote their endorsement by the county party. And as soon as we get endorsed by the RPT, which is a process, because we send out the endorsement to all the SRECs, you have 5 days to reject it if you want, and then you get the state endorsement. And then as soon as they get the state endorsement, because I've done this, I personally email every candidate as soon as they get the endorsement. In fact, the endorsement goes into effect at midnight, and I send the emails at 12:01. Virgil can attest to this. At 12:01, the endorsement goes into effect, and they get an email from me. So we tell them as soon as the process allows. So I don't, and I'm sorry, Melinda, that you've misunderstood this, because I've explained this many, many, many times. But I just want to say there's no discord. We do not endorse anyone at the state level who has not been endorsed by the county party. Erica McCutcheon was endorsed by the county party. She was then given an application. It took her about a month later to return the application to us, and that's why there was a delay.
Yeah.
She was listed at the
So we're going to,
Melinda.
so we're
And
going
again,
to
I
go
wish you
ahead
had
and,
asked me this one-on-one.
we're going to go
I
ahead
could
and move
explain this
on,
to
and
you.
we're going to take for or against this, the rule change.
So I just wanted to add on to what Rolando, the SREC does have a lot of play in this. If you have a woke county that has their candidate someone other than you, the SREC, believes in, you have the authority. Only one SREC has the authority to stop the endorsement. Just because an executive county endorses doesn't mean that we're going to. We have a rigorous application, and if these candidates aren't willing to state that they stand by our principles and our bylaws, we're not going to, the party's not going to endorse them. So the county can, but we won't. So anyway, the SREC does have protection.
Mr. Chairman?
I'd like to call the question here. I'd like to call the question.
Mr. Chairman, Cook County Secretary, SD 26.
Yeah, we'll call the question, not debate it. We'll call the question. And so all in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Okay, we're going to call the question, so we'll vote on this. So we're voting on approving this as a part of the standing rules, correct? As is. So we're going to do the clicker here for this, right? All right, so y'all get your clicker up. We're going to vote. All righty, passes. As you can see the vote up there. And so, Chairman, concluding remarks?
Mr. Chairman of the committee, Francisco Conseco Kiko, SD 26, just a suggestion. And I think that it can be very easily put in here. And maybe it can't happen right now, but later on. Have some form of appeal to the SREC. You have counties that sometimes have a very divided CEC, and they may pick the wrong person, or they may not pick the right person. And that person has the ability to come to the SREC in order to get an appeal as to whether or not the SREC will endorse. Just a thought for conclusion.
So noted. Okay, just a final reminder, please encourage your county executive committee to recommend their endorsed school board candidates to complete the local government application. It's a rigorous application that asks if candidates align with our principles and platform. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our report.
All right, thank you very much. All right. I think that local government committee is doing some great work. Rolando and Harris County had a tremendous success with that. So we appreciate all your hard work on that. I'm going to call Ed Zinner, Candidate Development Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to go over like Mr. Fight just did. I'm Ed Zinner, SD 23. I am the chairman of the Candidate Development Committee. Bruce Bishop is our vice chair. Members, if you'll stand, Geppert, Walter West, Lucy Trainer, Brandon Hodges, Kathy Perry, Jane Casino, Dale Gibble, Patrick Warnoff, and Jerry Fisher. We have a great committee. We had a good meeting, and we wouldn't be where we're at today if we would have been developing candidates 20 years ago. We've allowed way too many far left of center Republicans start local and move up, become state house, state senate, and even members of Congress. And most all candidates start at local level and go up. I did help one guy that ran for U.S. Congress the first election. He won in a 5-way primary, and he won outright. But that is the exception. Most people get elected to lower office, they get on boards and commissions, and they work their way up. And the other party has done a great job of doing this, which really hurts us. So we're trying to try to get as many people local. We're trying to get more people. I brought more first-time people to our state convention, and it's we need to be out here everywhere we can, training people up, identifying people. And we want people in lower level that are like us. We want people like Jeremy running for school board. And, we need to be out there recruiting these people. And a lot of people they have opinions, but they don't quite understand the government mountain and how to jump into it. And we need to be developing these people all along the way and especially developing people to replace us. And when we miss an SREC meeting, if at all possible, we should have somebody we're trying to raise up to be on the SREC in the future come as our proxy. So it's kind of, you know, even our vice chair, Bruce Bishop, sent a great proxy. And so it's, you know, we need to bring people up. We got a good smile out of that proxy, even though she was busy talking. So we're looking forward, and we're going to have a fun time with this committee. And I'm not going to do much more of a report because I'm ready to try to help get us back on schedule a little bit. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Zinner. And we're way past the schedule thing, buddy. Platform, Mr. Matt Patrick, Chairman of Platform Committee. Come on up.
I'm Matt Patrick, Chairman of the Platform Committee. Would all the Platform Committee members stand up and be recognized? Thank you, thank you. So we have a little bit of official business to take care of first. We have to approve what came out of convention. So, Mr. Chairman, I move that the SREC certify the voting results for the 2024 State Convention platform and legislative priorities.
All right, thank you very much. Is there any discussion on moving to approve what came out of the convention? Very good. All in favor of approving the convention reports for platform and legislative priorities signify by saying aye. Or do we have to go clicker? All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Very good. Chairman, you're done? Oh.
Thank you. So we met yesterday, had a great meeting. We've got three main tasks that we've set for ourselves for the coming biennium. Essentially, is those of you members that are returning, you know, we had 10 priorities or 10 planks that we pulled out that we thought would have a very large effect for the benefit of Texas or the benefit of the Republican Party and our members in the state from last biennium, the last quarterly meeting that we had. So we've carried some of those forward, and we've added a couple of new ones, and we are still working on that list, but we will end up, before next quarter, having a list of 10 items that we are going to be working on with the legislature. And for the moment, those are medical freedom, Texas Health Savings Account, the border invasion, teach foundational documents, the obscenity exemption, sanctuary cities, de-annexation, and property tax relief. So we have two more that we'll pick out between now and the next quarter, and we'll let you know what those are when we get there. The other thing that we set out, the other sort of biggest task that we set out for ourselves is to really pick up the advocacy piece, and we've decided that we're going to try to create content that will end up going on the new RPT website, the RPT University, I'm not sure what we're calling it, and we'll distribute that obviously to you guys, to county chairs. We'll get Jen to send that out with her regular communication with county chairs. We're going to distribute it and educate to the legislators and their chiefs of staff. And in some cases, that'll be things that we want to keep kind of in-house. In some cases, there'll be things that we can push out even to like our CECs and down to Republican clubs too. So it'll be more of a public nature. But we'll be putting together PowerPoints or video presentations that you'll be able to share or be able to use. And we'll be teaching about the platform, the history of the platform, how we got where we are, you know, how we got legislative priorities, how we got the 9 sections that we have, and looking at individual items in there and just trying to let people know what's in the platform. Because if they don't know, and one of the things that we've been struggling with, I think, for as long as I've been on SREC, is the sort of drumbeat from Austin that none of our legislators like the platform. They think it's silly, they don't use it, they don't look at it. And we can't change that unless we tell them what's in it and show them all the great ideas that are in the platform. So we're gonna work on that. That's our second biggest initiative. The last thing that we're going to do, we changed the rules at convention to allow for this body to determine a process for submitting resolutions. Karen's dancing in the back. To determine a process for submitting resolutions to county and SD conventions, from your precinct convention, and then from those conventions up to state convention. I'm not going to go into the horror stories of all the things that we get, but we get crushed on platform committee because we get 5,000 resolutions that we have to sort through before we actually come to convention week and start meeting. And we were kind of, that put a real time crunch on us this last time because convention was early because because the national convention. And then I had them Zoom for a week before we went to San Antonio. And so we kind of got crunched from both ends, and the time got very compressed. It was just very hard to get it all sorted out. So we're going to create basically a online database, word processor, whether it's Word or some other type of thing, kind of like Andy was recommending for submissions. And it'll be sortable and it'll be much easier for us to handle. I've talked to the chairs for legislative priorities and for rules. So since we're developing this process anyway, we're going to just create another little way for people at your county and SD conventions to also submit legislative priorities or rules, which would be great because people tend to submit them all to us, and then we have to sort them out and give them to the other chairs. And sometimes there's a time gap there, so legislative priorities doesn't always know what they're going to be dealing with until the last minute in some cases. So this will clean all that up, and it'll make it much easier and faster for platform committee and legislative priorities committee and rules committee to get to work when we get to convention time. So our timeline tentatively right now is we're going to try to have that finished within a year, and that will give us the last 6 months to 9 months prior to convention getting started for us to educate and go out and make sure we communicate with all the county chairs and push that information out to all the people that are going to be SD chairs and county convention chairs next time around. So those were our 3 missions, and we're looking forward to getting to work. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks.
Point of information, sir. Actually, my point of information is for Comms Director Westlake.
Uh-oh.
So as far as submissions, when we're planning this process, now that we're developing, does the party have the ability to copy and paste, edit PDFs in text currently?
I don't know. Find out.
Because that will kind of determine whether or not we accept PDFs, is can we select the text out of them and yes, but we don't have Adobe in the party. We don't. We don't now, and we haven't for the last 2 years. Yeah, we do need it. Okay. Yeah, I'm just telling you, we didn't have it, so I didn't have that benefit.
All right. Chairman Withrow, welcome. For the volunteer, how appropriate that she's the volunteer committee chair. That's very good. Thank you.
Well, since y'all clapped, I'm ready to leave. Okay, well, we had a great group. Want them all to stand. Susan Lucas, Lucy Trainer, Rolando Garcia, Maggie, y'all aren't standing. Why aren't y'all standing? Y'all don't follow instructions very well. Maggie Witt, Karen Marshall, Ann Gephardt, Jane Casino, and Susan Fountain. So we were kind of unusual because we got in there and we had no idea what we were supposed to be doing because the chairman didn't have time with everything that was personally going on in his life to give us instructions about what we were supposed to be doing. But luckily we had a superstar in there, Jane, who has chaired this committee in the past. Before it, apparently, we are going to resurrect the volunteer appreciation dinner to to honor one volunteer per Senate district. So we think that we're probably going to get this first dinner off in 2025. So I'll be visiting with the chairman about what his vision is on that. And so this is an amazing responsibility, and we take it very seriously. As a second charge, we are going to work on suggestions to get our volunteers better plugged in. And Susan Lucas, she is standing. She decided that she would take on that particular part of our charge. And so she is going to be working on that. So we'll be giving you updates in the future, and we will now know what we're supposed to be doing. And we look forward to all of you helping us. Thank you.
All right, and for the Grassroots Club, we got our vice chair, Ms. Dorinda Randall.
All right, so, hello. So the Grassroots Club, I'm trying not to bang around too much. I had the wonderful Vice Chair, Rhonda Ward, the good Rhonda, as we like to call her. And oh, by the way, I've had pickle power for the last 2 days. I had Joni Pickle, who is the better half, actually. If you know her, you know what I'm talking about. And that was on Thursday, and then dealing with him for the past 2 days has been fantastic. So, anyway, the Grassroots Club was a magnificent tool that Steve Munisteri put together when he was chairman, and it was a great way to build the party and get money for keeping the lights on and things like that. So then it kind of died off. And so Chairman George wanted to re-erect that, and he asked me to put that together. And I was lucky to have Rhonda Ward. And on our committee was Mike Wheeler, Saki Joseph, Brenda Estes, Jerry Fisher, Rhonda Cooper, Michael Wheeler, Brandon Hodges, and Cheryl Thompson Draper. So that tells you we had the best people in our group. So also, what we decided is because the word grassroots has been taken over by grassroots people, so it's kind of confusing when it comes to the Grassroots Club. So what we decided to do is change the name to the Defend Texas Club. So then that way it goes further on down the line, and it is going to solidify our strong stance in Texas. So, and I've been told that doesn't need a vote, so you don't get to vote on that. So we get to say what we want to say. So we also have changed the limits because it was 10 years ago when Steve created it, when Chairman Munisteri created it, and it was at $8.25 if you wanted to go in at the grassroots level, and then he had different levels. We're doing the same thing, but we're upping the ante because inflation. Joe Biden, Bidenomics. So we are at $15 at the Defend Texas level. We're at $50 at the Lone Star level, and we're at $100 per month for the Save America level.
Madam Vice Chairman?
Yeah.
If I'm in at the lowest level, does that pledge come with a set of Ginzu knives?
No.
Oh,
but it does get you a groovy sticker. And the sticker is going to be on our website, on the RPT website, you see Save Texas, Save America. I can't see when I have these on other than read, so y'all are all blurry. So I'm going to take them off, turn them on. But so we're going to redo the logo just to have that Save Texas, Save America. Defend Texas, Defend America. Defend Texas, Save America. It's late, isn't it? Okay, so we're doing that, and then what those different levels get you is if you are at the Defend Texas level, at the $15, you get the Groovy sticker that I was telling you about, that you can have it as a sticker to wear or put on a bumper sticker on your car. So all three levels would get that. And then the incentives are, during convention, we would still do the same thing as the Grassroots Club, which was help with the room block, register early. You get we'll have a donut bar, coffee bar, charging station. And we are still discussing other things that we might do, like a ice cream social, but that's Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's favorite thing to do, so we probably won't. And then special seating for one of the dinners. And then the incentives not related to convention is VIP meet and greets, exclusive Zoom calls with the chairman or other wonderful RNC committee people, preferred seating at events around the state. So we're excited to get that done. And if you have any questions, Leslie?
Yes, one of the incentives for the Grassroots Club was that if you signed up, you would not be asked by the party for any donations for anything else.
Well, that's not going to happen. Because we need money. So
big thing, like the number one thing, sign up and you give us
right.
For anything else because you're giving us $8 a month.
Right. Yeah. I like that sentiment. But so the one thing that we will do is we will take you off of some of the things. Jen, and Jen, what did you? She did speak to that. We can't really do that because we have, because of how our database is set up. So we will, that is one of the things we're going to work on. So there are things that we're working on in regards to the logistics of it. But, getting some of the emails, like when it comes to the volunteer luncheon, we want to do that when we have VIP meet and greets or anything like that. You're still going to get some of those emails. So it's going to be hard to gauge on that and manage that effectively. So anyway, so that's it for our report. Hope it sounds exciting.
All right, and so that is, thank you very much. It's we get text messages asking for money in so many places. Money, everybody's asking. It's hard to know where it's even coming from anymore. I think if you make that, people say you're lying because you'll get something from the RNC or somewhere else. So I'm going to give a treasurer's report, a very brief treasurer's report. The information the details are in your packet, guys, and so I just haven't had time to really dive into these numbers, and so understand. I'm going to give you some really, not even 50,000 foot. I'm going to give you like a 2 million foot level of what's going on. So what I'm looking at here, I'm looking at a comparison with the Texas Democrat Party and debts owed. This is as of June the 30th. I'm not Fred Tate either, so he's not here today, and so that's why you can actually give him a call if you have more questions. Debts owed by the Democrat Party, about 95,000, and cash on hand as of June the 30th of 2024 is 1,122,000. That's the Demon Party, and so I'm sorry, that's on live stream, the Democrat Party. And so debts owed as of June the 30th for the Republican Party of Texas is 0. And our ending cash on hand as of June 30th, 2024 is $2,291,864.80. And so that's a kind of a 10,000 foot level of the finances. Refer to your packet, your folder, if you want details on that. There's profit loss statements in there and such. And so look at that and then call Fred if you have any further questions, please. And so any other questions that I'm going to refer to Fred.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
have a question.
Sure.
I would like to emphasize your statement. It's the definition of fiscal conservative. Praise God.
Thank you very much. I like that comment. Okay, so we've got, now we're going to wrap things up, guys. We're almost done. Is there any unfinished business or general orders, new business, anything like that need to come before the committee at this time? Any new business? Any announcements at all? Jen has an announcement. So when Jen speaks, people listen.
I'm not Jen.
You're not Jen, so should we not listen? No, you go ahead.
No, I would just like to remind everybody to please pray for Alma Jackson. She
Yes,
was
absolutely.
diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Yes.
And so-
So yes, Alma's very sick, and she's not secretive about it at all, so she knows. Thank you for making that point. Please pray for Alma Jackson. She's actually very, very sick, and so she needs our prayers right now. So she's getting some treatment in San Antonio, and so please keep her up in your prayers. Continue to lift up the George family as well, as their significant loss recently, and any other prayers at all we can just say, and we'll be praying for us as a group to make good decisions and go work hard until November. Yes, ma'am.
Just a couple of quick things. Your clickers, you're going to turn those in. It's probably easiest if you bring them up to this front table where Scott's sitting. Scott, can you wait? So just bring your clickers up here, drop them off. The other thing is we have Trump literature out at the table. We want to get you to sign for, we've got 500 stacks, stacks of 500 and stacks of 50. So please come take those to your districts and distribute those.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank you, Dr. Armstrong, for everything that you've done today.
Thank you very much. We are I think we're only like 30 minutes late, so that's not too bad. I apologize for that. Only 30 minutes late. And so, hey, so there being no further business, thank you all for everything that you do, guys. Y'all make the party work. If there is no objection, the meeting is adjourned. Yes. Uh-oh, sorry, take that back. All right, fantastic. All right. Congratulations, guys. Great job. Hearing no objection, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.